Kindly be seated. Thank you. A pleasant morning to all. Welcome to November's edition of the Premier's Monthly Press Conference. It so happened that this morning press conference is our final press conference for the year 2024. So we're happy to have you here with us this morning. A most special welcome must be tendered to persons in the US and the British Virgin Islands who are in tune on CBN Radio 90.9 FM and CBN Television Channel 101 on Flow TV and Channel 291 on the CCTV network. Also, to those persons in St. Martin who are also viewing on TVC television station, we welcome you this morning. And to all our listeners, a most special welcome to each and every one of you. The format for this morning's press conference is as follows. The Premier will make his usual notes and statements, after which members of the press corps will be given the opportunity to ask their questions. In so doing, you're kindly asked to give your name and the organization that you represent, just in case we have to give you additional information at the end of this press conference. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, join me in welcoming to the podium the Honorable Premier of Nevis, Mark A.G. Brantley.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the November edition of our monthly press conference. As P.S. Wakely Daniel has indicated, this will be our final press conference for the year, largely because next month, December, we will be involved with budget debates here on the island of Nevis and on the island of St. Kitts. Let me start this month's press conference by extending congratulations to my dear friend, Nicole Liebert, who has been promoted to assistant restaurant manager at the prestigious Four Seasons Resort, Nevis. Nicole has been in the hospitality industry for a very long time, and she has been a friend of mine for a very long time, and so I congratulate her and encourage her to continue from strength to strength. As I would have indicated, we are into our budget season. This year, our budget will be presented on Tuesday, the 3rd of December, 2024, and the theme will be moving forward, people-focused, supporting entrepreneurship, and bolstering job creation. The 2025 budget will focus on the well-being of the people and residents in Nevis through the support of small business, the expansion of critical infrastructure, and the provision of social programs. The intended outcome of our budget will be to create jobs, enhance livelihoods, and improve the overall quality of life in Nevis. To achieve the above objectives, there will be additional tax incentives providing support for small businesses at customs or at Inland Revenue. There will be capital investment to support the availability of potable water, airport infrastructure, and of course, our health services, principally our hospital. The Child Care Assistance Program, which started as an experiment under the Department of Gender Affairs, has witnessed noteworthy acceptance. This program will continue to benefit from allocated resources so that parents who are financially challenged can find relief. This year, ladies and gentlemen, we celebrate 40 years of international financial services on the island of Nevis. The international financial services industry provides services to international clients in several areas, such as business incorporations, trust formations, and international banking. The industry started 4 decades ago through the foresight of the late Sir Simeon Daniel, our national hero. The industry began with one product and one business in the private sector operating. It has now grown tremendously over the years, and today there's a recognizable upgrade where additional products have been introduced with a near-complete support mechanism for international clients. This celebration will honor the legacy of the Right Excellent and Right Honorable Sir Simeon Daniel and the Honorable Vance Amory through posthumous awards. Meritorious excellence in leadership and pioneering achievement are other awards that will be conveyed on individuals and various corporations. Let me switch now to the Public Works Department. I want to take a moment to speak about the recent rains, because over the period of Sunday evening, November 18th, to Tuesday afternoon, November 20th, the island of Nevis was impacted by torrential rainfall. The rainfall event was extremely intense and resulted in heavy flows through our guts. The impact was much more pronounced on the windward side of the island, spanning from Newcastle in the north to Zion Hickmans in the south. While the whole island experienced significant rainfall, producing localized flash flooding throughout, this section of the island suffered moderate damage to roads and drainage infrastructure. After the rains subsided, the Public Works Department would have used our heavy equipment to try and clear roads and bridges and to try to recover quickly from the storm damage. Let me set out some of our findings. The island main road infrastructure, I'm happy to say, weathered the storms fairly well. The main road infrastructure on the western side of the island, from the top of Zion Hill to the airport, did not sustain any damage at all. Several gut culverts crossing the island main road on the windward side were overwhelmed with debris, consisting of old wood, gravel, and small to mid-sized stones. This debris blocked the entry of these drainage systems, causing overtopping in these areas and blockage of the roads with debris. This happened on the main road at the culvert adjacent to the Newcastle Police Station, at Barnaby, at Potworks adjacent to LBW Bakery and Deli, Butlers at just prior to the Adventist Church. Additionally, this happened also at the Camps Bridge Gut and at a few locations on interior roads such as those in Butlers. We saw some damage at Barnaby, where the existing culvert was constricted by several metal pipes and PVC service pipes, restricting throughput of the water. We also saw some damage at Butlers Village Road Junction, just in the vicinity of the Butlers Community Center. The spillway drainage mechanism installed to capture water from Eden Brown was overwhelmed by debris and therefore did not function as anticipated. We therefore saw damage at Butlers on that roadway. It is the intention, let me make it clear, it is the intention of the Public Works Department to quickly repair eroded embankments and to remedy the deficiencies that we would have observed. We will likely construct a 60-foot extension to the existing wall, this is in the Butlers area, to ensure that we solve the problem there of that embankment that collapsed in that area. This is proposed to be a reinforced concrete retaining wall extending to just shy of the community center building. The issue regarding the deficiency of spillway drainage will be analyzed, and you can be assured that corrective measures will be taken. We saw minor erosion at Nisbet's Bridge Culvert and Camps Gut Bridge, and the water overtopped the road at these crossings, making crossing impossible during the period of rainfall. Moderate damage was observed on the paved shoulders of the Island Main Road in Brick Hill, Zion, with the most severe washout occurring at Butlers, Eden Brown, and New River. A number of our unpaved village roads suffered moderate to severe damage. There were severe washouts at University Heights, Madden's, Nisbet Settlement, Simmons Estate, Hickman's, Zion, Morningstar, and Brown Pasture, just to name a few. There was also a washout of a section of base material at the Public Works project at Lower Bath Village, which is currently the only major project being undertaken by Public Works. All other road assets, including our paved secondary roads, suffered little to no damage, and all of our paved roads weathered the storm admirably. The rainfall event highlighted areas of concern regarding drainage and flooding and the need to address these areas. Some of these include Brownhill drainage plain below the Brownhill Wesleyan Holiness Church, the Craddock Road area in the vicinity of Vernilou Preschool, Lower Prospect Estate in the vicinity of Linnell Amory and King Astro, and Paradise Estate at the end of Barnesgut Road. I want residents in those areas to understand that we are aware of the problems and we will seek to do what we can to remedy those issues. In some cases, the cost that we have been advised is quite high. It will cost quite a substantial amount of money in some of those areas to remedy the problems with drainage. And I want, therefore, for those residents to be patient with us. I know some have been complaining for some time, but to be patient with us, bearing in mind that rain events such as what we had over those 2 days, those are not the norm. Those are quite unusual. It perhaps happens once, maybe twice a year. And so I would want residents to be understanding that we are aware and we will seek to do the best we can to remedy the situation so that when these unusual events occur, there is some relief. I am happy, however, to say that in the most part, in the main, that across the island dried out very quickly. Our drainage system on Nevis is excellent, and that as of today, most of the island is already back to normal. Even my yard, as I pointed out publicly, was flooded out. I believe most people experience flooding. And so my phone kept ringing nonstop of people saying their yards are flooded. That is expected, ladies and gentlemen, when we have rains of that nature. These were unusual rains, torrential downpour that lasted for a few days. That is not the norm in Nevis. And so I want people to appreciate and understand that when this happens, there will be water on the road. The guts will run. You will get flooding in your yard. But that is not the norm, and that is not every day. Even at our Bath stream, it was running very, very strong as the water rushed from the mountains and rushed to the sea. So I just wanted to point that out and to let those residents know that we will do the best we can. We have been doing quite a bit of work through the Nevis Disaster Management Department. The Global Support and Development GSD, in partnership with the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and the Nevis Disaster Management Department, has been working to strengthen communication capabilities at both disaster offices. That is, the one in St. Kitts and the one in Nevis. The project entails telecoms consultancy visit to the Federation, which happened on Friday, 1st November, and that was followed by procurement of equipment and installation works. On Nevis, the project will upgrade the radio room, installations of UHF radios at the disaster management, and 11 emergency shelters in addition to satellite phone communications. Put differently, we are preparing ourselves, hoping for the best, praying for the best, but preparing nevertheless for any disaster that may come. The Community Emergency Response Team, CERT, Community Disaster Response Team, we are currently hosting, that is the Nevis Disaster Management Department is currently hosting its annual Community Emergency Response CERT, Community Disaster Response Team training, and that would have been done during the period 4th to 15th of November. So that is just completed, in fact. This training is made possible through a collaborative effort with the St. Kitts Nevis Red Cross Society, St. Kitts Nevis Fire and Rescue Service, and the St. Kitts and Nevis Defense Force. CERT training covers basic skills that are important to know in a disaster when emergency services might not be available. The training is comprised of 5 thematic areas, namely disaster management, map reading, psychosocial stress management, first aid CPR, and fire safety and search and rescue. There's an average attendance of 15 persons nightly. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now into the final week of November, and we are therefore approaching the official end of the annual Atlantic hurricane season. With just 1 week remaining, there have been 19 tropical depressions, all of which became named storms, and 12 hurricanes, 5 of which were major hurricanes. This year, Hurricane Beryl formed in June and became the earliest Category 4 and 5 hurricane on record. It caused catastrophic damage in the Caribbean and deaths in Texas, Louisiana, and Vermont. Tropical Storm Ernesto impacted the Federation, and damages to the island of Nevis was reported at nearly $300,000, with the agricultural sector most severely impacted. We have been spared, ladies and gentlemen, by Jehovah God for another year, and we continue to give thanks. The Nevis Disaster Management, however, is continuing to ask us all to be vigilant, because we know that there have been late storms that have developed, but we are hopeful that at least for the next week we will have no hurricanes, and therefore we can say that we would have got through the 2024 hurricane season without a direct hit. And for that, we give God thanks. We can prepare as much as we want, but at the end of the day, it is God who's in control, and He has decided for yet another year to spare St. Kitts and Nevis the worst. And for that, we are truly grateful. Public awareness and education campaign. I'm very excited by this news that as part of the ongoing multi-hazard campaign, the Nevis Disaster Management Department is currently advancing the development of an educational tsunami game. You hear that? We're developing an educational tsunami game, which is scheduled for release in December 2024. The interactive tool is designed to educate and engage users on tsunami risks and safety protocols, thereby enhancing disaster awareness and preparedness. Development is progressing well, with essential features being implemented to ensure both an engaging and informative experience for players. The next steps involve finalizing and rigorously testing the tsunami game in preparation for its launch at the CDM 13 conference in St. Kitts, 2nd to 6th December 2024. In addition to the tsunami game, the multi-hazard campaign will continue to expand with the planning and development of additional interactive games focused on various natural disasters, which we intend to release in 2025. These efforts aim to provide a comprehensive suite of educational tools that improve public knowledge and readiness for multiple types of disasters. So while you're playing the game, you're also learning. And I want to commend the Nevis Disaster Management Department for this proactive and innovative approach to educating our people and preparing our people and ensuring that our people are best prepared for any disaster. The 13th Caribbean Conference on Comprehensive Disaster Management will be held from December 2nd to 6th at the Marriott Hotel in St. Kitts, while the Youth Forum will be convened on Nevis from 3rd to 5th December at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. Under the theme Road to Resilience, Checkpoint 2024, Leveling Up for a Dynamic Future, this premier event will bring together regional and international experts, policymakers and practitioners to explore innovative strategies for disaster management and resilience building in the Caribbean. The conference will feature a diverse group of keynote addresses, panel discussions, workshops, networking. And registration is now open at www.cdema, that is cdema.org. Some great news, ladies and gentlemen. The United States Embassy in Barbados has advised that the Naval Facilities Engineers has completed the design requests for proposal and cost estimate for the Nevis Bureau of Standards laboratory concept designs. The overall budget for the construction of the Bureau of Standards facility is US $2 million. They have confirmed that we will approach this in a phased manner, but I'm very pleased to say that through cooperation with the U.S. Embassy and with the U.S. Southern Command, that Nevis now is on track to have started next year construction of our Bureau of Standards building here on the island. This is, I believe, a headline news item. I say that because it would mean that for the first time, the island of Nevis now can do its own testing of water, of food, of scales, of all that we need to do. Mold, all of these things we can now do right here on the island of Nevis. I want to commend very, very much the Honorable Spencer Brand, who has led this disaster management with distinction. I want to commend Mr. Brian Dyer, who has been there and has been a pillar of strength. And I want to commend the entire team who has worked hard, partnering with the United States government to now bring to us a US $2 million investment in our Bureau of Standards. Let me switch quickly to water. This is something I think which is perhaps not garnering as much attention as it deserves. And that is the exploratory efforts that we're making to increase the supply of water to the island of Nevis. We have, ladies and gentlemen, so far invested significant sums in water storage, enhanced water storage, and in improved water distribution across the island of Nevis. The third phase of our overall plan is now to actually find more water. We have a small desalination plant, which we expect to commission very shortly. And in addition, we have been drilling for additional water using a company from Trinidad. Under that water drilling program, 2 wells have now been completed. Bear in mind, as I've disclosed in the past, that our intention is to drill 9 wells. 2 have already been completed. Both are in the Maddens area. The first well is close to the Maddens water storage tank. The depth is 705 feet with a water table at 505 feet. Pump testing on this well will commence next week. The second well is at a depth of 505 feet with a water table at 265 feet. This well is currently being pump tested at 125 gallons a minute or 180,000 gallons per day. The next site to be drilled will be Decent Estate in Gingerland. Groundwater monitors are being installed, and thus far we have installed 5 groundwater monitors. Let me again commend the Honorable Spencer Brand and the entire team at the Water Department and the Water Management Unit who have been working assiduously to ensure that the people of Nevis have more water. And I believe sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, that we don't give enough credit to the administration's approach in relation to a fundamental asset, a fundamental need such as water, because we have been quite deliberate and quite systematic in terms of how we've developed our water resource. We invested initially in distribution. Remember when the whole island looked like it was under construction? Because we were replacing old pipes, old iron pipes with modern polyurethane pipes. We were increasing the size of those pipes, the circumference, the diameter, whatever the language is, of those pipes to create bigger pipes. We were ensuring that we removed areas where there was low pressure, and we did that throughout the island main road and into the villages. It was a massive project. As part of that project, we also spent time erecting new tanks. And you now see modern polyurethane tanks all across the island. We didn't stop there. We repaired old tanks, some of which were leaking. And we were able, therefore, to increase our storage capacity on the island. The final phase now is finding more water. So, when we find more water, we have storage for it, and we have a way to get it to you because of our enhanced distribution. I think that that deserves some credit because it demonstrates how the administration thinks and how we go about executing projects over several years. This water project has been an ongoing effort now, at least for the last 7 or 8 years. We have systematically built it out, and when it's all said and done, I think we would have spent tens of millions of dollars on this particular project. And so I'm grateful that the final phase is well on its way, and the 2 first wells have yielded water and therefore have been successful. Let me pivot now to the tourism industry. The 2024 Tourism Awards ceremony and cocktail is set to take place on Saturday, 30th November, after an hiatus of some 5 years. This invitation-only event is slated to take place at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. Nominations have been received in 8 categories for awards, which include Nevis Experience Award, Tourism Entrepreneur Award, and several others. The winners of the various awards will be announced during the ceremony. The keynote speaker for the event will be renowned tourism industry professional and my dear friend, Miss Shirley Nibbs of Antigua. Shirley needs no introduction. She is a towering figure in tourism in the region, and we look forward to welcoming her and to hearing, of course, her message to us. During the month of November, we saw the official opening of the Penny's Beach upgraded area and the Bath Hot Springs, both new facilities. Both sites are now fully open to the general public. Substantial upgrades at the Bath Hot Springs have come at a cost of just over 800,000 EC dollars. And as such, the Cabinet has decided to implement a cost recovery mechanism where a nominal fee of US $5 will be charged to visitors. Nevisians, locals, while exempted from this admission fee, we are asking you and encouraging you to make donations to the upkeep of the facilities, and we will have donation boxes placed around the facility. The general public is kindly asked to obey all the site rules posted and also to assist the ministry in taking care of these newly upgraded facilities. The Ministry of Tourism takes this opportunity to to thank all of its stakeholders and partners who made these substantial upgrades at Bath and Pinnis possible. And I say again, kudos to our Permanent Secretary, John Hanley, and to Sylvester Meade, who was the individual who spearheaded the efforts at the Bath stream. Kudos to Michael Perkins, who as our consultant was our chief individual on the upgrade at Pinnis, and to Guangzhou, the construction firm. And I can't ever talk about Pinnis without thanking our dear friends, the Republic of China, Taiwan, for financing in large measure the efforts not just at the Malcolm Guichard Recreational Park, but also the upgraded facilities on the beach. Nevis, I believe, is moving in the right direction with these types of developments which enhance the quality of life. And that is what we are here for as government, to ensure that our people have the capacity to enjoy a good quality of life. At the start of each tourism season, the Ministry of Tourism usually hosts a taxi refresher course to bring taxi and tour bus operators together to remind them of the importance of their roles as tourism ambassadors and our front line when it comes to visitors to our island. 65 taxi operators were in attendance, and we are grateful to the Four Seasons Resort for partnering with us to ensure that we were able to host these seminars, 2 sessions, morning and evening, at that prestigious property. I was privileged to have been able to attend both sessions, that in the morning and that in the afternoon, and be able to speak to our taxi drivers and to get from them their own views and sentiments and their own sense of where the industry is and where it's going. I joked with them that I've not had any complaints from our taxi drivers recently. And because they're one of the most vocal groups, I know when I don't hear from them that things are going well. And so I'm grateful to say in Nevis, things are going well. Updates from the Nevis Tourism Authority. We have had some familiarization trips to Nevis. We had trips from the UK, from a TTG journalist. We've had yet a second FAM trip where key travel agents from the UK would have visited. And the TTG is a Travel Trade Gazette, one of the UK's leading travel trade publications. They are doing an article in Nevis, which we hope to see soon. And then British Airways would also have done a FAM trip here. We welcomed a group of travel professionals hosted by British Airways. This initiative is aimed to enhance awareness and foster partnerships to boost tourism from the UK market. I also want to thank Candy Carter, whom we've appointed to the honorific position as our diversity ambassador. She recently visited Nevis, and she was here, of course, to promote the island further. We did quite a bit of filming. Her efforts has already resulted in substantially new visitors coming to the island. We are now seeing an uptick in African-American athletes, celebrities, and individuals who are interested in Nevis and are learning about Nevis through this relationship with Ambassador Carter. And so we thank her for her role. She has continued to highlight Nevis as an inclusive and diverse travel haven, and we continue to appeal to the African-American market, that affluent African-American market. We feel that we are very much in that wheelhouse where we're encouraging them to visit the island of Nevis and to stay here. We have all that they're looking for: fishing, golf, beautiful restaurants, beautiful scenery, and bespoke accommodation. And so we continue to encourage them to come. I should also indicate that Nevis is currently in the midst of a rebranding for the island. We have had the Nevis naturally branding for the past 20 years. And it is the view of the Nevis Tourism Authority, and it is the view of the experts whom we have hired, that it is time now for Nevis to relaunch itself in the market. And so we've had a flurry of activity over the past several weeks where they're capturing new imagery, new videos. We've used local models. We've brought in models from overseas. We've used local talent in terms of photography and videography. We've also brought in people from overseas. I'm particularly proud, members of the press, to say that our own Casey Jeffers, who is now a world-renowned photographer based in New York, that he would have come down and would have worked with us on this project. And so I say thank you to Casey and kudos to the Nevis Tourism Authority, which continues to do the necessary to ensure that Nevis is out there. In terms of our tax collections through our Tourism and Development Levy. This is a 2% that is charged to hotel and restaurants, that hotel stays and restaurant consumption. That continues to be paid 1 month in arrears. And I'm happy to say that 2024 is up 27%, our revenue, over the last full year we had before COVID, which was 2019. And so far for the year, we are up just under 6%, 5.44% from where we were last year. So we've continued to trend in the right direction. And we, of course, have November and December collections that are outstanding that we hope will put us over the limit insofar as our collections for 2024 are concerned. Let me pivot now, ladies and gentlemen, to the Ministry of Health. I am pleased beyond measure that the first corneal transplant performed in our federation was done in Nevis on November 7th, 2024 at our Alexandra Hospital. It was done by Dr. Roberto Pineda from Harvard Medical, assisted by Dr. Raymond Hubie, Director of the Nevis Eye Care Program, and Dr. Crespo. Dr. Hubie and Dr. Pineda are volunteers from Vision for All, a U.S. nonprofit organization which focuses on providing critical eye care services to underserved communities. The eye care program has been in existence on Nevis for 30 years, and through this robust partnership, many persons have benefited from twice annual screening, surgical intervention, and follow-up care. On this visit, a total of 29 surgeries were done, which included 26 cataract surgeries, 1 intraocular lens fixation, and 2 corneal transplants. I believe that we must applaud our Minister of Health, the Honorable Janelle Nisbet, and her entire team, and the team at the Alexandra Hospital. We must also applaud and thank Dr. Crespo, Dr. Hubie, and Dr. Pineda. Dr. Hubie and Dr. Crespo are no strangers to Nevis. They are here often. And I want to publicly say to them that we owe them a debt of gratitude. They have come year after year and volunteered their services to the people of Nevis, and now increasingly to the people of St. Kitts, who are coming over to access the excellent eye care that is available at the Alexandra Hospital here in Nevis. We often hear about the things that are not going well, and we often ignore the things that are going extremely well. And for the island of Nevis, this little place, to have had the first corneal transplant in the Federation and create history, I believe that that is an important story and that all of us should feel proud. Let me congratulate Mr. Royston Quealy. He represented the Department of Gender Affairs Nevis Division in Bust a Pot cooking competition in St. Kitts. Mr. Quealy was among a total of 5 participants and he emerged victorious. He also this year won the annual Dr. Packer barbecue competition in Miami. So Mr. Quealy, who is best known to us as one of our sprint athletes, is transforming himself into a well-known chef. And so he's winning competitions in St. Kitts and in Florida. We say kudos to him. The SKN Moves Nevis chapter proudly presents the second edition of Cooking to Reduce NCDs and the quiz competition, which is happening on Saturday, November 23rd. Witness the heat in the kitchen at the Jessup Community Center as 4 skilled cooks go head-to-head to create mouth-watering, hearty dishes. Prep starts at 9 a.m., cooking kicks off at 10 a.m. Then on Sunday, November 24th, join us please at NEPAC for an electrifying quiz showdown featuring our top cooks, showtime 6 p.m. Who will be crowned the ultimate cook and quiz champion for 2024? Please know that entry is free for both events. So please bring your families and have some healthy, good-natured fun at the Jessup's Community Center and then in the evening, the following day, on Sunday at NEPAC. The annual SKN Moves Half Island Walk Relay is now set for Saturday, December 7th, starting at 6 a.m. Registration is still open, and interested teams and individuals are encouraged to contact Ms. Sheila James at the Health Promotion Unit at 469-5521 extension 6393. Now, I like this event. It's Half Island Walk Relay, but I want to emphasize the walking part, because the last time I participated, fellows were running past me. And then when I came in last, they say, oh, I came last. But I stuck to the rules. I walked when others were jogging and running. So it is, again, a fun event. And if you have a team, we're suggesting that you register your team and be part of this. The idea is really to make exercise fun, to make being outdoors fun. And I have said that for an island with limited resources, severely limited financial resources, that our approach to health is really to try to delay as much as possible the onset of illness. We all, if we're lucky, will get old. And we all, as we get old, our bodies start to break down. That is nature at work. But if we can delay the onset of illness and eliminate things like diabetes, things like hypertension, obesity, if we can do those things and we can seriously make a dent in those diseases, NCDs as they're called, non-communicable diseases, if we change our lifestyles, if we exercise, if we eat properly, and we avoid certain risky behavior. And so, in a very real sense, our health is in our hands. And our health promotion unit, which continues to do an excellent job, they have definitely been out there seeking to be at the forefront of encouraging our people to lead healthier lives. So I'm encouraging us, please. I understand the struggle. There are lots of food out there that's not so good for you, but we all love. Anybody who knows me knows I love cook up. I'm always talking about it. It's not the best for you. But if you must partake, partake in moderation. Have a small amount. Some of you like to have a little drink, an alcoholic beverage. If you must, partake in moderation. Have a little. They say, well, have a little wine for the sake of your stomach. Have a little, but don't have too much. Because when you have too much of anything, you know, if you drink too much water, it's bad for you. If you eat too much food, it's bad for you. Anything that you do too much of is bad for you. So we encourage you to get out, get up, get out, and get moving. And things like this half marathon fun relay is a great way. The cooking, also a great way, because we're trying to encourage people to be more healthy. December 11th, the Nevis chapter of SKN Moves will have their fourth quarter free health screening at the Cotton Ginnery Mall, again from 8:30 to 1:30. Persons are encouraged to use this opportunity to have their blood pressure, blood glucose, urine, and other health checked. Now, why is that important? It's important because a lot of us are walking around. We think we're healthy because we're not feeling any pain, but we are not, because we have underlying issues, hypertension, diabetes, that might be impacting us. And many of us only realize when we crash or when something happens and we rush and then we are told by the doctor, guess what? You're at stage 3, stage 4 of this, that, or the other. I say that because we continue to preach it is important for you to get regular checkups, and it's important to know your status. Know your health status. And these free, let me emphasize, free screenings. The only effort that we require of you is for you to show up. Free screenings which can tell you where you are in terms of your health and maybe some adjustments that you would need to make. I believe that that is important. And I continue to encourage our people to get their regular checkups, regular screenings, so that you know your status and can intervene early. Most diseases that we face, if caught early, can be dealt with. The problem that happens is that many people wait until it is too late. We hear a lot about kidney failure, renal failure. A lot of times it's because people were not aware of their status, did not know that they were hypertensive, did not know that they were diabetic, or if they knew, they did not do the necessary in terms of change in behavior that could help to delay or avoid the onset of things like kidney failure. And so I want to encourage our people, please know your status, help us to help you, help yourself, Be there for your families for as long as you can. We know that life is uncertain, but let us do what we can do that is within our control to eat a little better, exercise, get out, do what you need to do to ensure that your life is as healthy as possible. And please, we're providing every opportunity for you to check and know what your status is in terms of your health. All you have to do is show up. We will take care of the rest. There's no cost to you. And so we ask you to show up at the Cotton Ginnery Mall on December 11th between 8:30 to 1:30. An important announcement, ladies and gentlemen. The Ministry of Health would like to remind us all that with the recent heavy rains, it can lead to an increase in mosquito breeding. We're therefore urging everyone to check their surroundings and eliminate items that can collect water and become breeding grounds for mosquitoes. We need to keep dengue and all other diseases that are transmitted by mosquitoes at bay. We know that mosquitoes need water to breed. So if you have old tires, you have flower pots, you have all of these things, old garbage in your yard. You shouldn't have garbage in your yard. That should be at the garbage disposal. But if you have things in your yard that are collecting water, please empty that water and let us fight mosquitoes together. The Department of Community Development will be hosting a series of Christmas events during December. We have Christmas in the capital, formerly known as the National Christmas Tree Lighting. Christmas in the capital is slated for Wednesday, December 4th at 7 p.m. at the Memorial Square. The theme for this year is The Whole World Rejoices. There will be entertainment for the whole family with pre-performance beginning at 6:30 p.m. We have Steel at Christmas. In our efforts to promote local steel pan groups and musicians, the department will be hosting Steel at Christmas on Friday, December 13th, starting at 5 p.m. This event will feature various performances from Rhythms Steel Orchestra, Positive Vibes Steel Orchestra, Pandora's, my favorite steel band, Pandora's Steel Orchestra, Combermere Symphonic Orchestra, and more. The event will be held at the DR Walwyn Plaza from 5 p.m. until. We are hopeful that people will come out and support these events. We're also having Christmas Cultural Market, formerly known as Miracle on Main Street. The Christmas Cultural Market will be held on Friday, December 20th at the DR Walwyn Plaza. The department plans to showcase our traditional Christmas sports and provide an avenue for various businesses and entrepreneurs to showcase their products and services, their culinary skills, crafts, and agro products. Local food products, arts and crafts, and other delicacies will be available for purchase. Items on sale will include sarsaparilla, as well as local drinks, tarts and puddings, jams, sauces, cassava meal, fruit syrups, sauces, local wines, and various crafts. There will also be a display of traditional Christmas sports and traditional Nevis folklore. For the young people, Christmas sports doesn't mean running and jumping. Christmas sports means what? Cowboy and Indians and clowns and that type of thing. Traditional Nevis folklore will also be on display. We'll have cultural performances, cakewalk, clowns, sweet lemon, NCDF masqueraders, giant display, moko jumbi, and more. And then we have Christmas movie in the square. The department has partnered with Jermaine Stapleton, whom I want to commend, young man doing great things on the island, of Convergence Entertainment, or Movies at NEPAC, to host a movie night on Saturday, December 21st in Memorial Square from 6 p.m. The department registers our thanks to Mr. Stapleton for offering his services free of cost in an effort to give back to the community. Mr. Stapleton, if you're listening, thank you and congratulations. We also have a Christmas passport competition as part of the department's efforts to increase community participation at the various Christmas tree lighting ceremonies, as well as fostering a feeling of togetherness for the Christmas season. The department is hosting a Christmas passport competition. This competition will run from December 1st to December 24th. The deadline to turn in passports is on or by Friday, December 27th at 12 p.m. The top 5 persons who attend the most Christmas tree lighting ceremonies will win various prizes. It is hoped that this competition will encourage social cohesion, camaraderie, and healthy competition among the various communities. The Christmas tree lighting schedules will be announced shortly, and certainly we encourage you all to go out to these various efforts in the communities. Just to announce, ladies and gentlemen, that in my last press conference, I did say that we were having an agro-processing workshop due to unforeseen circumstances that had to be delayed, and it will now happen on the 21st of January, 2025. You'll hear more about that from us. Let's talk about Culturama. Too early? No, it's not too early. November, we're talking about Culturama. The Nevis Culturama Secretariat is asking me to ask you or to tell you that the slogan competition for Culturama 51 is open. Slogans submitted for Culturama 51 should be short, original, creative, and catchy, no more than 8 to 10 words, to capture the true spirit of Nevis Culturama. All entries must be submitted to the Culturama Secretariat by Friday, November 29th. Alternative entries can be emailed to slogan@culturamanevis.com. Entries will not be accepted over the telephone. The winner will receive 2 complimentary passes for all Culturama 51 shows, a plaque, and a cash prize of $500. To date, we have received 66 entries, and we encourage persons who are still out there to submit entries. And a good thing is you're not limited to just one entry. So if you have different ideas in your head, you can submit as many entries as you like, and hopefully you can win that $500 and 2 complimentary tickets to all the shows being hosted by Culturama. Let me also advise you that we are now open for registrations for Culturama 51 senior pageants. This includes the Miss Culture Show, Miss Culture Swimwear, and Mr. Cool contestants. Application forms can be collected at the Culturama Secretariat, located in the Philip St. Jean building adjacent to the Modcross Prep School, or visit www.culturamanevis.com. Completed application forms should be returned to the Culturama Secretariat by December 30th, 2024. Today, ladies and gentlemen, is World Fisheries Day. It is celebrated on November 21st each year, and it's a time when we pay homage and say thank you to our fisher folk. Fisheries play a vital role in global food security and nutrition, providing over 20% of the required protein intake for nearly 3 billion people worldwide. However, problems such as overfishing, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, climate change, and pollution have posed significant threats and challenges to the sustainability of fisheries, endangering marine ecosystems and the livelihoods of many fishers. So we ask our people to be cognizant to take care of our environment, and so help us to continue to be able to have fish available to us, marine protein available to us into the foreseeable future. World Fisheries Day serves as a platform to raise awareness about the importance of responsible fisheries management and the need to address the challenges facing our oceans. By embracing sustainable practices, supporting local communities, fostering international cooperation, we can work towards a future where fisheries continue to thrive, providing food and livelihoods for generations to come. Importantly, this is a collective responsibility to protect our oceans and ensure that they remain a source of abundance and diversity for the benefit of all. Our oceans are shared space. We are all responsible. And many people seem to feel that the ocean is just for them, meaning that they go and they fish as much. They take lobsters which are undersized. They take fish that are undersized. They take conch that are undersized. And they laugh and they feel like they're doing a good thing. No. You're ultimately destroying your own ability to earn a living. And so I urge our people to be sensible, to be prudent, and our fisher folk to continue to protect their livelihoods and continue to provide us with much needed food. I would want, ladies and gentlemen, to congratulate all of our fisher folk and to say thank you to them for their continued efforts, doing a very dangerous job, going out at sea. We all know of occasions when fishermen have gone out and not come back. It is one of the more dangerous jobs that many undertake, and we would want to wish them well and express to them a happy World Fisheries and World Maritime Day. Let me switch now to the Department of Sports. I want to extend congratulations to the swimmers who represented St. Kitts and Nevis in the recently concluded OECS Swimming Championship in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Special congratulations to young Skylar Connor, who won a silver medal in the 50-meter breaststroke for the 11 to 12 age category. Congratulations also to our athletes Shane Nisbet and Robert Liddy, who participated in the inaugural Special Olympic Caribbean Initiative Beach Games, which took place in Trinidad and Tobago from November 8th to 10th. Commendations to Mr. Nisbet on his gold medal winning performance in the aquathon division, and to Mr. Liddy for copying a bronze medal in the open water swim 1500 meter category and silver in his division of the aquathon. You know, I don't think sometimes our Special Olympians get the credit that they deserve, because they consistently come back with medals from these various regional and international competitions. And I want to commend them highly for their efforts. The Department of Sports, in collaboration with the Department of Education, would have hosted the 2024 St. Kitts, Nevis, and Anguilla National Bank Primary Schools Football League, which brought tremendous excitement to the ETW Park twice a week as they had these games there. The grand finals player of the game, congratulations to Jamari Rollins of the St. Thomas's Primary School. The outstanding female player, Ronnie Isles of the St. Thomas's Primary School. I was very impressed with this young lady. I saw her on the field, and I thought that she was, certainly to my uneducated and untrained eye, far and away the most exciting player that was there. And to see her playing with the boys and holding her own and doing well, I thought was commendable. So kudos to Ronnie Isles. The young and upcoming football player, Josiah Mead from the Charlestown Primary School, kudos to him. The Fair Play Award to the team or individual that would have gone to Montessori Academy. The best goalkeeper, this is where now Ivor Walters comes into play. T-Vern Herbert from the Ivor Walters Primary. The best defender, Alger Guichard from the Ivor Walters Primary. The top goal scorer, Kevin Herbert from the Ivor Walters Primary. And then the MVP is Jamari Rollins from the St. Thomas's Primary School. Outstanding players on each team at Ivor Walters Primary, Kevin Herbert. Joycelyn Liebert Primary, Kelleron Liebert Jr. The Elizabeth Pemberton Primary, Johnny Sadler. Charleston Primary, Tariq Roberts. Montessori, Rosen Daniel. St. James Primary School, forgive me, Archeliga Herman. Did I say Montessori earlier? Montessori Academy, Jaden Daniel. Nevis Academy, Pietro Ferrandi, and VOJ and Jarian Maynard. Regular season champions, Ivor Walters Primary. 4th place, Charleston Primary. 3rd place, Ivor Walters Primary. 2nd place, Joycelyn Liebert Primary. And 1st place, the Big Green Machine, St. Thomas's Primary. Congratulations to all, and congratulations to the Honorable Troy Liebert, who led the team on this, and to his entire team, permanent secretaries, director of sport, but also to St. Kitts Nevis and Anguilla National Bank for stepping up in a significant way and sponsoring this. I hope that the National Bank realizes that when they sponsor these events in Nevis, they get excellent bang for their buck. They get good returns for their investment. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's on the sports side. Let's talk a bit about the academic side. Following the 2024 May-June sitting of CXC-CSEC examinations, the following preliminary data, I emphasize preliminary data from our secondary schools, tells us that we had 194 students sitting exams. Those 194 students would have done a total of 1,153 exams, meaning that those were the exams that were entered. But the actual number of subjects written was less than that, 1,136. So, some people didn't show up for, I think, about 17 of the exams. There were no shows. The number of subjects passed was 876, for an overall percentage pass rate of 77.11%. Congratulations to the top performers from the Ginger Island Secondary School. Rajan Fifield, He obtained an incredible 10 subjects with 7 grade 1s. Shama Otley attained 9 subjects with 6 grade 1s. That's at Gingerland Secondary. From the Charlestown Secondary, we congratulate the top performers, Rusha Shamar, who attained 9 subjects with 9 grade 1s, and Teodra Woodley, who attained 10 subjects with 7 grade 1s. At the Nevis Sixth Form, of the 522 subjects entered, we recorded a total of 66 grade 1s, 65 grade 2s, 76 grade 3s, 71 grade 4s, and 56 grade 5s, for an overall pass rate of 91.12%. I believe that that is commendable. Congratulations to the top performers at the Nevis Sixth Form College. We have Ayush Patel. He attained 10 units with 10 grade 1s. And I've been trying to pronounce this youngster's name for years because he's always excelled. I want to say who you say? Rishikesh. Rishikesh Srinivasan. And he would have attained 10 units with 10 grade 1s. So Rishikesh Srinivasan, he got 10 units with 10 grade 1s, and then Ayush Patel also got 10 units with 10 grade 1s. Excellent, excellent performance. The Charleston Secondary School will host their annual graduation on Tuesday, 26 November at 9 a.m., and the Nevis Sixth Form will take place the same day at 3 p.m. Both ceremonies will be at the Nevis Cultural Village, and then the ceremony for the Gingerland Secondary School will be at the Gingerland Methodist Church at 9 a.m. on Thursday, 28 November. We are actually pleased to go out and support these youngsters. They have performed remarkably well. Let me just announce that we are going to have a math camp. You know that we've been suffering in the area of mathematics, in fact, the sciences generally. And the Department of Education has really embarked on a concerted effort to improve our performance in terms of STEM. And so, as part of that, we'll be hosting our first math camp for secondary schools in December of 2024. The idea behind it is to address learning loss and gaps, especially in math, which we have seen in our students over the last few years. The math camp will take place from Monday 2nd to Friday 6th December, and the target students will be 1st to 3rd formers. It will take diagnostic assessments to determine the gaps and to select the group of attendees. All secondary school math teachers will serve as facilitators for this camp. Math teachers have undergone special training to facilitate the camp session on Wednesday afternoons. The math camp will focus on the following content areas: number theory, computation, and problem solving. I say kudos again to Minister Liebert and the entire team, because I think these are the types of initiatives that Nevis needs if we are to equip our youngsters for the world of work and the world out there. CXC registration for May-June 2025 exams is ongoing and closes on December 6th. So please, the schools, students, note that the CXC examination registrations are ongoing. They close on December 6th, but also, of course, for those who are external candidates, that they note the period when it closes. You can conclude your registration at school for the students and at the Department of Education for private candidates. The Nevis Public Library, again, I thought this was an incredible initiative. In celebration of International Education Week, Education USA Nevis facilitated 2 workshops on Tuesday, 19 November, under the program Empowering Student Athletes, Unlocking Opportunities for U.S. Education. The sessions were organized by the U.S. Embassy in Bridgetown, Barbados, and they were represented by Tamara Shire Hoffman, Public Diplomacy Officer, and Sabrina Gittins, Public Engagement Assistant, and the presenter was Andrea Walker, Associate AD for Athletics at the University of Indianapolis. Despite the rainy weather, 90 persons, student athletes, parents, and coaches, would have participated. And the aim here is to say to our students, listen, You can, if you excel at sport, also use that as a vehicle to get your education and to study in the U.S. through scholarships, whether full or partial. And so we commend again that initiative. Another important announcement, we are having a parent workshop. Parents of babies and children up to primary school age are invited to register for the parent workshop scheduled for December 11th at 6 p.m. at the Nevis Public Library. Engage in discussions about the importance of books and reading as a family, as well as receive tips on how to conduct fun and engaging at-home story time. Ladies and gentlemen, I will leave matters there and now invite your questions, if any, for me. Bearing in mind that this is the last press conference, I would urge you to get in as many questions as you can, because we won't be back until January, God willing. Thank you very much, and I now look forward to your questions.
Good morning, Mr. Premier. Elka Hewlett, Department of Information.
Good morning, Ms. Hewlett.
I have my colleagues would have said I could have asked my questions first, so I didn't butt in today. First question, can we get an update on the airport expansion project? I know you had a public consultation recently, and were there any concerns raised, especially with regard to the proposed redevelopment of Nisbet Plantation? Last time you gave an update on the Alexandra Hospital, you said it would be a focal point for your administration in 2025. Does that mean that other projects like road rehabilitation and the Mondo track, will they be put on the back burner? Do you anticipate an increase in Social Security deductions for employees and employers in 2025? Also, what has the uptake been on federal scholarships, especially in relation to Nevis? And what are your thoughts on that? You said things are going well in Nevis. However, in St. Kitts, we're repeatedly hearing the opposite. I think Mr. Duncan Watley put it succinctly and said, we're not that good. What do you think is the outlook for 2025 for citizens of and residents of St. Kitts and Nevis, considering the rapidly escalating cost of living? And just one more question. As it relates to MSR Media, is the company still filming on movies on Nevis? And was there any kind of negotiation entered into with respect to any CBI arrangements or investment with that company and its head, Philippe Martinez? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hewlett. You have covered the whole yard in terms of these questions. Airport expansion, you're absolutely correct. We had an extensive consultation at the Pond Hill Community Center just last week. In fact, it is the third in a series of consultations that we've had. And I'm pleased that persons are afforded the opportunity to come out to ask their questions and to get clarification. I believe that the presenters were very clear. They used slides to make that presentation. And they used the opportunity to highlight the various chapters and areas covered by the environmental impact assessment. They also made it clear that that EIA is now available. In fact, it has been available, I'm told, as of Monday this week at the Charlestown Public Library. So for those who may want to go and wade through that 100 pages, that is available at the Charlestown Public Library. We have, as a government, always sought to be open and transparent. And this airport project, we know, is a significant project for the people of Nevis. And so we hope that we are demonstrating the level of openness when it comes to the public awareness and the public being a part of this project, to take public concerns and considerations on board. We recall that the minute we announced the project, we had the opposition in Nevis deciding they would stage a protest. I think they had 6 people that showed up for a protest at the airport. I'm not sure what they were protesting, because we always said that we would share information as that information became available. So now that the design phase is nearing completion, now that the EIA is done, we have come back to the public with the information. And so in terms of problems, we don't anticipate any problems. Nisbet Plantation has recently, I believe as of August, I'm told that the new buyers have closed on Nisbet Plantation. That is what I'm advised. And so that project they're now indicating is that they want to do a project there, but they have not yet designed a project. They have not yet submitted anything to planning. So at this point, we have, at best, the concept of what they would like to do. They raised some issues asking how the expanded airport will impact the concept that they have, that they would like to, they say, implement at some point. And the consultants who were there explained that it would not have any impact whatsoever on Nisbet. They explained the noise that Nisbet was concerned about to indicate that by the time planes got to Nisbet, they would be very high in the air already, and that most planes taking off from the Van Zandt International Airport take off and then make a turn to the left, which is away from Nisbet. I want the public to understand that we are extending the runway in both directions. So we're extending towards Nisbet Plantation. We're not trespassing on Nisbet's property in any way, but we're extending in that direction. And we're also extending towards Hurricane Hill, which is in the opposite direction. You may ask, why are you extending towards Hurricane Hill? Bearing in mind that the displacement is going to remain the same. Hurricane Hill is an impediment, and planes coming into land must clear that impediment and then line up. So you lose some runway. And so the extension towards Hurricane Hill is not for landing, because your landing space, your landing point of touchdown is not going to change. The extension towards Nisbet is the extension for purposes of landing. Why, however, are we going towards Hurricane Hill? We're going towards Hurricane Hill because we then now have more space for takeoff. So planes now can go right up under Hurricane Hill and take off, giving them far more length of runway to maneuver. With that, we will be able to accommodate the Embraer commercial aircraft that American Airlines is now operating from Miami into Anguilla, for example, direct from Miami, fully loaded. And it can take off fully loaded, full of fuel, because we have now the longer airport runway to facilitate. And we will be able to get most of the private jets currently operating in the world as well, bearing in mind that that is our target market, private jet traffic. Hopefully we can get American Airlines to come direct from Miami, and we can get regional traffic coming into our airport. That's the ambition at this point. And so that airport facility, as we say, will have new parking for private jets. We'll have a hangar. We'll have new lighting. We'll have an extension of the runway. We will have a fuel farm, because that's another big problem. There's often no fuel for sale at our airport, so we'll fix that. We will enhance the tower. The current tower, we're told, is structurally sound, but we will improve it. We will build a whole new fire station, because the current fire station needs to be abandoned. And we will have, of course, proper perimeter fencing, proper lighting, and we will expand the terminal. The terminal, the view is that the terminal will be too small to handle the traffic that we hope we will be able to attract. And so the main terminal building will remain, let me make that clear, but we will extend the wings. You know, the current terminal is configured. So we will extend both wings of the terminal, one for reception and one for departures. So that is what is being done. In terms of the financing on it, we are, I believe, I'm hopeful that by the time I get to the budget discussions, I'll be able to announce concrete plans on the financing. But I can say that we are satisfied that we should be able to commence this project very early in 2025. That our financing is in place, and we are now just trying to finalize our documentation on it. And even if we have to ultimately do this project in phases, we have secured the financing to deal with the runway expansion. So what we call the airside facilities, that financing has been secured, and we have secured the financing through the assistance of Prime Minister Drew on Sinkits for the land acquisition that is necessary. And I'm hopeful that if all goes well, we should start soon to pay out on the lands that we would have had acquired. And I want to thank the landowners in the area. They have been very cooperative in the main, and I really want to thank them for their assistance and for them buying into the idea that an expanded airport is good for all of Nevis. We had at the town hall, I recall that we had some questions being asked. I think it was by the leader of the NRP, who is, of course, an expert in environmental matters. And she asked questions and expressed disappointment that she thought there was not enough data shared at the town hall. But I think the obvious response to that, and that was given by the consultants, was that we could not have a 100-page document discussed at a town hall page by page. So what we did was we gave the highlights of the document. We gave the chapters. We said where we could find various things. And then we told you where you could have the document if you wanted to read it yourself. So that data and those details, we think, are correctly in the EIA, which is publicly available at the public library in Charlestown. And so I don't think there was any need really to engage in how much was shared at the town hall, because the town hall, which went on for well over an hour, I think it might have been about 2 hours, if I recall, and was quite well attended, and quite a few questions were asked at that town hall. So I think that the information is out there. It's available for all who are interested, and we have nothing to hide on this project. We have been very open about it, and we have said that when the time comes and when we have accurate information to bring, we will bring that information. And so, Ms. Hewlett, I hope that answers your question on the airport. Alexandra Hospital, you say, I have said that will be our focus, and will other major projects be on the back burner? The short answer is yes. Our intention in 2025 is to advance the hospital project significantly. And so other projects that we have talked about, I have negotiated long and hard with my colleagues in the cabinet, and I've said to them, fellas and ladies, I'm sorry, we need to focus the attention on that structure and getting that structure completed. And so that will be our primary focus insofar as the NIA capital expenditure is concerned in the new year. There are other things that we need to do for sure. Not suggesting that we're going to ignore our roads, because where roads need to be patched up and fixed, we will. But we are not intending to undertake any massive road or other construction projects next year. We will do smaller projects, but our main focus will be the Alexandra Hospital. Social Security contributions, do I anticipate an increase? I do. I'm not sure when that will happen, but I believe when we look at the actuarial reports, that to save Social Security, some reforms are necessary. And I am here to say that I support those reforms. I say that because I think our people need to appreciate that Social Security is not a tax. Social Security is not a tax. Social Security is an investment in yourself. The more you put in, the more you get out at times when you need it. Women, when you're pregnant and you're on maternity leave, Social Security. Men and women, when you're sick and you need some assistance, Social Security. And then when all of us, if we are lucky, get to that age when we are retired, Social Security. Too many people are coming to me and telling me that they're now 65 and 70 years old and they have no income whatsoever. And you know why? They never paid anything into Social Security. And so the burden now is on the government or on family members to take care of them. I am encouraging our people to support Social Security, to pay their Social Security, because it is not a tax. It is an investment. Each of us has an account at Social Security. Each of us. You can go downstairs here tomorrow in the Social Security building. You can go downstairs after the press conference and say, my name is Lakeisha Hewlett. Can I know what the status of my contributions are? My name is Bjorn Hanley. Can I know what the status? That is what Social Security is. And it's an investment in yourself. And I want our people to start to see it like that. So I support the recommendation because I want Social Security to live long after I'm gone, long after my children are gone. I think Social Security has been a tremendous, tremendous asset to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. It has invested in all aspects of our day-to-day lives, from housing to education to health. If tomorrow you get sick and you call the ambulance, one of those ambulances that will come was paid for by Social Security. They have really been there for us. And people in their time of need turn to Social Security for assistance. So I suggest that we support them because it's one of those organizations where your investment there is in yourself. And I commend them for their efforts. Scholarship updates. I don't have numbers, but I continue to encourage Nevision students and those wanting to study to pay attention. We continue to advertise scholarships available all across the globe. But the refrain that we often get is that not enough Nevisians are applying. So I'm encouraging our Nevision students to pay attention and to apply. And to parents, to encourage your children to apply. If you don't have the money to send your child to university, which we know can be very expensive, encourage them to apply for these scholarships, because if you can get a free education, get a scholarship and go away, it means that when you come back and you start to work, your money going directly then to investing in yourself, meaning buying a bit of land, building a house, or whatever the case may be. I know that there are people right here in Nevis who have been back from university now for 12 years and are still paying student loan. So imagine with a scholarship, you and your friend go away, the same time to study. You get a scholarship. Your friend decides that he or she will take a student loan. When you come back, you and your friend are appointed as teachers. Both of you are making $5,000 a month. You have to pay student loan. Your friend doesn't. The difference in terms of your life could be significant. And all it takes is for some of us to make the effort. I hear some young people say, oh, they farm them too hard to fill out. I don't understand what that means. Because the farm is too hard to fill out, it tells me that you're not ready yet to say you're going off to university. When we want something, when we need something, I keep telling our people, go get it. Go get it. Stop this practice of sitting back. And then when you see others who go get it, you start to vex with them, you know. You start to get upset with those. When you have the equal opportunity, pay attention. We have these devices that are glued to our faces all day. Well, on those devices, Human Resources in Nevis is constantly putting out information about scholarships that are available. To Mexico, to Azerbaijan, to Morocco, to Taiwan, to Argentina, to Canada. Scholarships after scholarships. Please, I'm asking, we've signed arrangements with Monroe College. We have arrangements with, is it called Southern University, I think it's called, that the federal government has entered into in Louisiana. All of these options are available. UVI, University of the West Indies. This government continues to provide assistance to students who are studying. And it used to be that we never supported those who are studying online. You know what? We've changed that policy. That students studying online in Nevis can now get government support as well. Because we realize that for those who choose to study online, they're still working, and so you're still getting productivity out of them. If you're serious about advancing yourself, your career, your education, it's a good time to be alive on the island of Nevis, but you need to make a little effort as well. You can't just sit back and then say that nothing is going on for you. Make the effort, because the information is out there. And our people at Human Resources stand ready and willing to assist you. So if you're in doubt, visit us here. Visit us here. You all know a fellow called Kevin Barrett? They call him Scooby. Very, very nice gentleman. Approachable. Approach him. Approach him. There's a lady called Mrs. Gill. Beautiful young woman, beautiful personality. Approach her. Have the necessary conversations. But don't let it be said that the opportunities aren't there, because they're there. it is for you to grab them. You say that I said things are going well in Nevis. I'm the Premier of Nevis, Ms. Hewlett, so I can only speak to what I see and feel and experience and the policies that we can prescribe for the island of Nevis. And I think, yes, things are going well in Nevis. I believe the economy is moving in the right direction. I think that we've been able to complete some significant projects that have been delivered on time and on budget, that we have some other projects that we are working on that we hope we can roll out in the new year, including our airport, the completion of our hospital, etc., and that we are, in fact, moving in the right direction. We are cooperating with the federal government on the geothermal energy expansion, and I'm hopeful that by the budget we will be able to explain some other initiatives we're taking in terms of renewable energy. So I do believe things are going well, and my outlook for 2025 is positive, very positive. I think we're going to see more job creation, more businesses opening. We have seen an absolute boom in terms of the restaurant business happening on the island of Nevis. Food vending, food services businesses. Nevis now has one of the best dining scenes in the entire region. And I say that because that is the review that I'm getting from visitors, that they are absolutely amazed at the quality and number of restaurants available on this island, offering a variety of cuisines and a variety of dining options. And so I believe that the island is moving in the right direction, and I'm hopeful, Ms. Hewlett, that we continue in that vein. We will, as government, continue to stimulate activity in the economy through our own expenditure, our capital expenditure. We will continue to provide safety nets for those that need that hand up, and we'll continue to work with our people. In the budget, we'll be rolling out some new incentives for small businesses. We'll be rolling out our diaspora attraction plan, where we want people to start to come home. I said it here, and we now have the plan worked out. We'll be announcing that shortly. So we're doing a number of things that I think ought to gain value and garner support here on the island of Nevis. So I do think that today I can say on the 21st of November that on the island of Nevis things are going well.
But could you just juxtapose that to the overall, how people are going to look standing 2025 with the escalating cost of living?
So yes, I'm sorry, because that was the second part of your question. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, the cost of living, it has been escalating, but I will say to you, Ms. Hewlett, that it is a global phenomenon. Sometimes when we have the commentaries here in St. Kitts and Nevis, one might expect or believe that these phenomena are peculiar to the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. All across this Caribbean and all across the world, inflation has been an issue, especially since COVID. It has been exacerbated by the war in Ukraine. Many people did not know that Ukraine is one of the world's largest producers of grain, and that your wheat and your various grains coming out of Ukraine, all of that has been interrupted. Many people do not know that Russia is one of the world's largest producers of oil. And so in terms of Russia and Ukraine and that conflict and embargoes on Russia and sanctions on Russia, etc., the global flow of oil has been affected. We have problems in the Middle East, war in Gaza, war now in Lebanon. We have Iran and Israel in conflict. Relevance, Iran again is a major oil producer. Whenever there are conflicts in these parts of the world, ladies and gentlemen, the oil flow is affected and the price of oil is affected. Any economist will tell you that wherever energy costs go up, the cost of living will go up. And it makes practical sense because it means that everything you do, if you take the bus runs on diesel, it runs on gas. If you're in a bakery and you're consuming electricity to bake, the engines that generate the electricity run on diesel. Either way, and every way you look at it, you will be incurring additional costs. So we have a number of global events that are happening that continue to apply upward pressure on the cost of living and the cost of basic necessities and food items. The government, however, has not stood still. One, the government, both federally and local here in Nevis, has been trying to put our people in a better position. So, in Nevis, we would have given our public servants, starting in 2022, a 15% increase in salary. As I stand here today, every public servant in Nevis is 15% better off than they were in terms of their salary. And the question then would be whether or not the increase in cost of living is higher than 15% so that it would wipe out the increase in salary that we would have given. Those are public servants, which account for a significant number of people in the Federation. In St. Kitts, of course, they would have gotten 10%, and then 8% would have been given sometime later. And of that 8%, I think there's a 3% reduction. So basically, I think it works out to the same 15, but it was paid differently. So we also, of course, at the federal level, which would apply across the board, increase the minimum wage. And that increase in minimum wage is set this year to be increased again. Remember, it was being done in 3 tranches. So the first tranche was already done last year. The second tranche is going to be done this year. And then the third tranche, I believe, is going to happen either later this year or early next year. Bottom line is that the minimum wage has also been increased. So you've had civil servants getting an extra 15%. You've had the minimum wage also being increased. And in addition, we have tried where possible to shield our people from the full brunt of the cost of electricity. So, on Nevis, we carried for some time the fuel surcharge and took it off our residential consumers. We have now adjusted tariffs somewhat on the island of Nevis, but we are still carrying some of the costs, the real cost, so to speak, of the fuel and the generation of power here. If we were to remove that altogether, I believe that people's power bills in Nevis may jump as high as 40% if we were to remove the subsidy that we are providing. So if people are now crying out for electricity, imagine if the government was not still standing in the breach and trying its best to do some control. In addition to all that I've said, Ms. Hewlett, we have also embarked in Nevis on a relentless campaign to encourage our people to eat local and to eat more of what we grow and grow more of what we eat. I know it is not a short-term fix, but I personally feel a great sense of satisfaction when I can go out into my yard and pick, well, I shouldn't say pick, cut a hand of bananas that I can then go into my kitchen and boil, and then I go in Bart Village and I get 2 fish from my friends in Bart Village that I purchase, and I have a healthy meal of boiled banana and steamed fish that is entirely local. I keep encouraging our people to look at what we produce locally. You know why? All of us rush into the supermarket. I hear, well, I shouldn't say I hear. I was watching a debate on social media recently. You know what the debate was? This lady said she can't believe that last week she went and she buys strawberries for whatever money, and this week she go back and the amount has gone up. And I thought to myself, but certainly strawberries is a choice that you make. I don't know that you need to eat strawberries. Are there local replacements that you could use? Other fruits that you can consume? You know, listen, and I say this honestly, our people want what they want. And when you say to our people, well, if the money that you're making doesn't get you to where you want to go, are you prepared to adjust? And the answer oftentimes is no. I'm not going to adjust. I'm going to cost the politician. I'm going to cost everybody. I'm not going to adjust. But my view is sometimes, if you are, for example, in the habit of going to the supermarket and buying all your vegetables and things there. They come in here from Miami. We don't even know what's in them. What chemicals they use to produce them. You go there, you buy bananas. The banana's been picked 6 months ago and still hard like rock stone. Well, how? Chemicals. But right here in Nevis, you have people on the sides of the roads and all that selling you local produce. And I am saying that once we work with our local farmers, we can, by eating local, reduce that cost. By growing some of what we eat, reduce that cost. You know, you could produce lettuce, you can produce so much in your own. In my little yard at home, we have seasoning peppers and all that. We don't buy those things anymore. You have your garden there with your thyme, your chive, they call it. Chive, rosemary, all of these things. You have your thing there to make your little bush tea. You know you could drink bush tea instead of drink coffee. But if people choose to live the life that they want to live and are unprepared to adjust in any way, shape, or form, then that is their choice. Some people say, I cannot afford a car as yet, so I'm going to take the bus. And where I can, I will walk. Or I will buy a little scooter to take me around because I don't yet have the capacity to buy a car. Another person say, I'm not riding no scooter. I'm not taking no bus. I am buying a car. Then when the car come now, you forget that the car need gas. The car need to be insured. The car need licensing. You forget that when you bring it in at customs, you have to pay something to bring it in. You have to pay your environmental levy or whatever it's called. And then, God forbid, you drive down the road, you get a puncture, they tell you need a new tire. And you start to say, you never know tire so expensive. So, Ms. Hewlett, I guess what I'm trying to say, I am not denying the fact that we have had globally an increase in the cost of living. But I think that our own people need to make some adjustments sometimes. And to look at their own spending patterns, what they do with their money. There are some fellas who work, Ms. Hewlett, and every Friday when they get paid, the first stop is the closest bar. And sometimes those fellas don't leave that bar until well into the night. By the time you and your 4 partners drink, I went to a bar the other day, and I am certain, I didn't count them, but I am certain there were at least 24 empty bottles on that table. 4 fellas drinking on a Friday. 24 bottles, that's a case of whether it's Guinness or beer or whatever. And you look at it and you say, well, could that money have been put perhaps to a different use? If you're accustomed to drink 6 beers and you say, well, the cost of living is a little higher now, well, maybe you drink 2. But people are telling you, I'm accustomed to drink 6, I'm going to drink 6. And if I can't pay for it, that's your problem. You're the premier. Make sure it be cheaper so I could continue to drink my 6. And sometimes we don't want to say it, but that's the truth. That's the truth. If you go to the supermarket sometimes and you're accustomed to buy this kind of burger or that kind of whatever, well, maybe you say, listen, can I switch and buy the mincemeat from the abattoir here, which is excellent, and make my own burgers? The quality is actually better, and you may save money. These are the conversations we need to have. MSR Media, I was not privy, Ms. Hewlett, to any discussion with MSR Media. As you know, citizenship by investment is a federal matter. And so whatever deals or dealings MSR Media would have had on the CBI front, that would have been done in Sinkits. As I said, and I've said repeatedly, but some things you need to say more than once, because there's some people out there who pretend that they can't hear. Or if they can hear, they can't understand. I, Mark Brantley, as Premier of Nevis, got the sanction of my cabinet during COVID, when there was nothing happening on this island. Our hotels were closed, our airport was closed, and we were on life support, no revenue coming in. And we had an opportunity to partner with MSR Media to create a movie industry here on Nevis, the start of it. The deal that we had with MSR Media was up to $150,000 US per film. That was the deal that we negotiated with them. But we said to them that we would not pay you any money. We would use that up to $150,000 US to pay for your accommodation. And so that you and the public understand why, it's because during COVID, you know, people couldn't travel freely. And so MSR came up with a model that they would bring in their entire crew. So their cameramen, their light people, and all of those. And they would put them up locally and keep them here. So they were, if you will, in a bubble. And they stayed at the Hamilton Beach Resort, right there at the foot of Cotton Grove. And we paid, I believe, if memory serves, somewhere in the order of $55,000 or $60,000 US a month to Hamilton to house those individuals. I am proud to say that because of that initiative and how we decided to provide the support, and incidentally, members of the press, do your own research, don't take my word for it. Every jurisdiction in the Caribbean, and certainly most jurisdictions around the world, that have a film industry provide support for that industry. In some like Puerto Rico, they have what they call a rebate system, where if you spend, say, $4 million on a film, you may get back as much as 1.5 from the government. So we didn't have the resources to do the rebate system. So we said, we will partner with you up to that upper limit. Per film, not per month, as some have tried to mislead the public, but per film. And that process worked well with us because of the money was injected directly into the Nevis economy. Meaning, we paid Hamilton, we kept Hamilton open during COVID. I can say that. The government kept Hamilton open during COVID. All of those workers at Hamilton were able to earn $1 during COVID because of that initiative. When the stars came in, because what they did, they brought in stars. So they brought in Mr. Hanley. He is the main star for this film. Those stars stayed at 4 seasons, and we paid 4 seasons as well for the estate. When that movie was finished and Mr. Hanley left, and Mr. Daniel came for the next movie, we again paid for the accommodation. But again, that money was going into the local economy. That was the model that we had. And under that model, MSR would have filmed some 8 movies on Nevis, and I think they did a 9th movie principally on St. Kitts, although there were some scenes on Nevis. It was my intention to work with MSR as the sort of foundation to develop. I don't think that these youngsters would mind me calling their names, but we had people like Vaughn Anslin, who was working with them and who was their set designer. We had people like Tishan Wilkin, who at one point was assisting in directing films. We had fellows who were learning about lighting, camera, editing. We had people like Sherry Gager, who were providing support in terms of makeup. We had people here being trained to do wardrobe, to make clothes for the actors to wear. We had something good going. The problem that we had was a government in St. Kitts, of which I was a part, or which I should say I thought I was a part, because when you're part of something, you work together. But what was happening is that they were systematically seeking to undermine the efforts of Nevis. And I can call his name because I'm not telling any lies. I am telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. The Honorable Prime Minister of the day, Dr. Harris, decided that MSR must leave Nevis and come to St. Kitts. And a number of meetings occurred. People came over. They had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They had cigars. They had drinks. And the whole negotiation was how will they extricate MSR from Nevis and bring them to St. Kitts. I was aware of all of this, but I think some people say I talk a lot, but I also know when not to talk. And so I allowed all that was going on to go on. I never said a word. They negotiated and negotiated. And Mr. Martinez of MSR said to me that the offer, his words, the offer was too good to turn down. Except that the offer was you had to move to St. Kitts. Not we like what is happening in Nevis, we see the potential and we are going to support it. That is, if you're in a real country, how things should work. Gingerland, you're doing well with agriculture. We're going to support what you're doing up there. Not go to Gingerland and tell all the farmers, we want you to move to Jessup, so you must move out of Gingerland. So there was an effort because every movie that came out, I was there shaking hands and saying great things happening in Nevis. Remember I had coined the phrase until they stole it from me in St. Kitts, something good is happening in Nevis. And so I said something good is happening in Nevis, and every time we said it, it looked like it caused some upset. And so they set about stealing MSR away from Nevis. This is the Premier's press conference. I can't be too rowdy. But I put it this way. You have your girlfriend and you have a nice relationship with your girlfriend. Another gentleman comes along and he whispers in your girlfriend's ear all kind of sweet things. What he gonna do for her? How much he loves her. He have a bigger house for her, he have a better car for her. You know, your girlfriend tell you, very sorry, you're nice to me, we have a good relationship, but me gone. Grass over there much greener. When the man don't take away your girlfriend now, 1 month later the man start to cuss and tell you, he never know the woman snow so hard at night time. He don't know the woman can't cook. He didn't know the woman can't wash. He didn't know the woman this and the woman that. Well, whose problem is it at that point? The woman don't left you? So you don't get, what the local word you use, bite? You don't get bite, so is the biter problem, not the bitee? Nevis is the bitee. The biter was Timothy Harris in St. Kitts. So if he come, see we have a Dolly House up here, decide he gonna mash up the Dolly House because covetous want everything for St. Kitts, and so took MSR over to St. Kitts. And that is where the problem started, you know, because as part of the package now, to lure MSR over, that's where the CBI came in. I hope members of the press understand what's going on, you know. That's where the CBI piece came in. You hear my deal with MSR had nothing to do with CBI. My deal was up to $150,000 per movie. That was our deal. St. Kitts now say, man, that Mickey Mouse money. Come over here, man. Real money over here. We're going to give you these shares. And when you sell these shares, you're going to make millions. I wonder how many people in the public know that Kittishan Hill and La Valley were also offered to them. In the end, they bought OTI. But this is what happened. And I am sitting down in a cabinet in St. Kitts with my colleagues, and my colleagues having all of these meetings and discussions, and they never once said a word to me. But they say that there's no tailor out there who has ever said that he made pajamas for Jesus. Because God don't sleep. God don't need pajamas. And so now that all this hubbub has started, I keep asking everybody, why is Nevis' name being called? I see members of the press and people and say, oh, Mark Brantley bring this man here. Well, if I bring him here, I tell you to trouble him? If I bring him here, did I tell you to trouble him? I had my arrangement going well, making movies. That is what I bring him here to do. You decide that you want him to move. And let me tell you, you know, Mr. Martinez ended up forming a company called MSR SKN Limited in St. Kitts. I am not saying anything which is untrue. They end up forming a company in St. Kitts because the requirement from the big rigs in St. Kitts was you must move. And so they pack up the cat, the dog, they pack up everything and they move everything over to St. Kitts. And members of the press, I will challenge you, because when it happened, the NRP and Nevis started to laugh at me. They mocked me. They said, look at him. He can't even hold on to this investor. St. Kitts, take it away from him. And I was the laughing stock. So they thought. But look what has happened now. So, Ms. Hewlett, I've probably gone on a lot more than I needed to. But just to say that I and Nevis we don't control CBI. We have no decision-making powers in relation to CBI. And whatever mess that is unfolding in relation to that, those who are involved must deal with it. Press conference here before, I say who have cocoa son must deal with rain. I don't drink cocoa, I drink coffee. Well, now with things, I drink in bush tea. Right? Who have cocoa son must deal with rain. And I have said to all of them from long enough, Ms. Hewlett, months ago I said, go and hire your lawyers and deal with your situation. But don't drag me and Nevis into it. For all of those who are out there saying, who bring the man to Nevis? Mark Brantley bring him to Nevis. I said, all right, I bring him to Nevis, but you hear any allegations being made against Mark Brantley? Has Mark Brantley been sued? Has the NIA been sued? And the simple reason for that is that before God and man, our hands are clean. And I want to make that point clearly. Before God and man, see them here. Clean hands from Henley Park and Brown Hill. I am not worrying myself about these things. Those who have done something, who have something to hide, they're the ones who need to worry. But for all of those who are mocking me, and laughing at me, and saying how bright and how smart former Prime Minister Harris was, because he bite me and he take away what I had. I said, well, now you want to send back the woman, keep the woman. You don't take her, keep her. And deal with the consequences. Ms. Hewlett, I hope I answered your question. Any other questions for me?
Good morning, Mr. Premier. Good morning, everyone. Jarvis from Van Radio. Just a few questions, Mr. Premier. As it relates to the present situation with prices going up in the supermarket, I just want to know something, Mr. Premier, and for the listening public. It's commendable that you pointed out that what I'm garnering so far is you're trying to encourage people to be more self-reliant, especially with growing things in the backyard. But what we want to know is in relation to the fact that basically when we're going to supermarket practically every week, you see things going up. Is there any level of price control from the Nevis administration? The other thing is, you mentioned about the Special Olympians that, basically just paraphrasing, it's good that they can go into certain places and do well, and you mentioned too that you want to see some sort of returns, as you said. But what about as it relates to athletes in general, when they do well for the island of Nevis? Can you say, of course, on behalf of the NIA, to see some sort of significant returns? Not just only giving them medals or anything of that sort. That's just my question as it relates to that. And not just only in whether swimming or athletics, but in general. The other thing is, as it relates to tourism, I see in Nevis that, especially when cruise ships come to Nevis on a Sunday, quote unquote, the place is basically shut down. What I want to know is how do negotiations go as it relates to the cruise calls for the island of Nevis? Because, to be frank, it seems as if persons are unwilling to go out and say, you know, they say the tourists, let's go out and open up our places and shops, etc. So I just want to know how the negotiations go about with the cruise calls. And the final thing is, as it relates to the budget, how would you say 2025 is or will be when compared to 2024? Is it going to be less debt, etc.? Just pointing out certain examples so that you could get an understanding. And with those few questions, sir, that will be it for me. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The numbers have not yet, Mr. Jarvis, been finalized, starting where you left off in terms of the budget, so I really can't tell you at this point. I do know that for 2024, our debt was trending downwards. We were paying down our debt, but having said that, we anticipate that we will be incurring some new debt in relation to the airport. Although we have that debt properly secured in terms of repayment, we will be incurring some debt in relation to that project, but we will have the numbers during the budget. So I regret to say I wouldn't have that data with me now. I believe 2025 will be a good year for us. I'm optimistic that once weather holds, once we have no natural or man-made disasters on the island, that we will have a good year. The tourism numbers are looking up. The Four Seasons currently is experiencing quite a boom. They're going to have a buyout of the Four Seasons to end this month. And then in early December, I think they tell me they have 2 buyouts happening in December. And you know, when you get buyouts in December, that's at a premium because you're now in the prime of the season. So it appears as if the tourism sector is doing well. We have some new restaurants that will be opening. In fact, there will be one called Mojo's, which will be opening very shortly, right here at Pinnes. And we see that some projects that had been languishing for quite some time, we are hopeful will be open, such as the Belmont project here at Pinnes, that those will be open. So we are anticipating that 2025 should be a good year for the island of Nevis. And we are optimistic that with our own efforts, with the continued efforts, with some incentives that we're rolling out for returning nationals, for small businesses, and some incentives for home construction and building construction, we are going to be announcing a whole package of incentives to continue to encourage the construction sector. I think the numbers I saw yesterday suggest that currently we have close to 170, I think, active construction sites on the island of Nevis as we speak. So construction is certainly an area that we would want to incentivize further by providing some support for individuals who want to build a home or they want to build, add on to the existing house, etc. We have the what is it called, the first-time homeowners concessions currently in place. But what we're trying to do now is also to put things in place for others who might be expanding their home. We're thinking, for example, of a family. And you know, maybe your little daughter used to sleep in the same room with you, but your daughter is now growing up and wants her own room, and you want to add on. The current concession didn't consider that, because they say if you're not a first-time builder, you don't get any help. But we are now going to roll out a package which looks at things like those, because we understand that all of those add value in terms of economic activity. Tourism, cruise calls, Charleston being shut down, I've spoken about that countless occasions here, encouraging our people to make what they can. And you see, Mr. Jarvis, this is the, how should I say, the confusion that I have sometimes. Because the same people who refuse to open will be the first ones to call the radio or take to social media to tell you how bad things are and how hard things are. But they will not open to put themselves in a position to make a dollar. And then you hear the excuse, well, them not like to spend money when they come off and all of that. Well, you won't know. It's like the man who wants to win the lottery but doesn't buy a ticket. You have to be in it. And you have to be there and plying your trade and being aggressive in terms of saying, here I am. But if people don't show up because they can't be bothered to show up, then they can't then say life hard. Life can be hard. Because you have the opportunity to go and to make a living. It doesn't cost the store owners in terms of they have their storefront already, right? And so my view is that sometimes our people just need to get to a point where they get serious about their business and can really deal with opportunities when they arise for them to make money. You said in negotiations, everything that we do in terms of cruise is done largely through the agents and syndicates. You have DD Walwyn and others. And the truth is that Nevis is not a cruise destination, so to speak. We get some smaller ships, as you know, but most times I think we just provide backup for a real cruise destination like syndicates. Nevis's model is really heads in beds. That's what we focus on in Nevis. The cruise is an addition to what we do. Syndicates focus heavily on cruise, and I think the heads in beds arguably is secondary to what they do. So they're going to get 1 million. To put it in context, syndicates will get 1 million cruise passengers this year. Nevis will get 20,000. Chalk and cheese. But when it comes to the stay-over visitors, we are likely to do better than syndicates, even though they have more hotel rooms than us, because that's our focus. So in terms of the negotiation, it normally would be with the big operators like D-Lane and others. You'd ask about athletes. I think that's an excellent question because it's something we've grappled with. How do we treat with our athletes? This government has invested. The Mondo track is an example. We have invested in trying to improve basketball courts and the like around the island. We have started the investment in lighting all of the courts. We ran into some difficulties there because of transformer issues. I found out through that project that transformers are scarce. Very difficult to get transformers. Sometimes the lag time looks like years before you can get them. So we are scouring all around the world to see where we can buy transformers to get those lights. I think they require a 3-phase or something, get the lights around the various grounds erected. But we had a big project to do that, which has not yet been completed because of that difficulty. So we've invested in the infrastructure, basic infrastructure. Our athletes in Nevis now have a IAAF certified surface to train on, to run on, to compete on. Prior to my government making that investment, they used to run on grass up at the ETW Park. And if no rain falling, they were running on dirt up at the ETW Park or up at Swamp. That's what they used to run on. And so I think that we've invested significantly in those aspects of it. Question has always arisen though, what when athletes go off to represent? What do you do for them? It might surprise you, Mr. Jarvis, to know that hardly any team leaves this island without governmental financial support. Down to cricket. You would think the Cricket Association, which is the strongest sport on the island is cricket. Anytime if they're sending a team to syndicates, they write to the government and ask for financial support. Sometimes, if the cost to attend a tournament in Antigua is $25,000, they ask the government for the full $25,000. That means not even a penny some of the associations have to put in. So this administration is constantly assisting with teams going away, clubs going away, right? And we have, I believe, 95% of the times, we have a financial input in athletes going abroad. We mentioned Mr. Quealy, Royston Quealy, who is now a top chef. But I don't know if you remember that this government would have spent money to have Mr. Quealy in Jamaica training with the same trainers for Usain Bolt. That was an investment that we made because at the time Mr. Quealy was one of our most promising sprinters. And we had made that type of investment. So we continue. This initiative with the library and the US government recently was enthusiastically taken on board by us because, again, it provided an opportunity for athletes now to get scholarships to go and study. So in various ways, Mr. Jarvis, we're trying to assist. What we've done also is that we announced a policy, I'm not sure how widely it was publicized, but we announced a policy a few years ago that if you have represented the island of Nevis at any international sporting event, you qualify for duty-free concession. And many have come and have benefited from that by bringing in a duty-free vehicle. So if you have played test cricket and you're from Nevis, if you have been at the Olympics, participated, and from Nevis, you qualify. This is a policy that we announced. So it is not that we have ignored our athletes. We have tried in different ways. But one of the things to Mr. Jarvis I will just mention is that it is sometimes difficult for a government with limited resources to keep up. And I'll tell you why. For example, swimming is now a big thing. Swimming was not a big thing 10 years ago. And now that it has become a big thing, you know what has happened? The swimmers say we need to get a pool and we need to get a facility. And I agree with them and I support them. But while they're saying that, the cricketers are saying ETW needs fixing up, or you need to decide to get a new ground someplace else. The athletes are saying you built a beautiful track over there at Mondo, but now it's time to get a stadium at Mondo. The basketball players are saying you have us playing basketball out there in the sun, and under the stars we need an indoor facility for basketball and for netball. And so the demands are just continuous. Those who play tennis, the other day we had archery. The sport of archery was introduced. And fellas were saying, well, listen, what are you going to put in place to support? So I recognize that it's an ongoing demand. And I favor sports. I'm not a sportsman myself, but I favor it because I think it keeps you healthy, ticks a lot of the boxes. Keeps you healthy. It creates community spirit when you have teams competing against each other. And it really allows our people to enjoy a better quality of life. So we are committed to it, but I just set out for you, Mr. Jarvis, some of the challenges, but some of the things we've done as well. Price control. I think that our price control unit needs to do a bit more in terms of educating the public as to what we can actually do in terms of price control. The truth is that price control for us really only applies to what they call the basket of goods. So I think you have milk, flour, sugar, rice. That's it. So if you're going to go out there to buy strawberries, going back to my example, or you're going to go out there to buy, you know, some other product, that is not covered at all. So a supermarket could charge you whatever they want to charge you for strawberries. That doesn't fall into the basket of goods that is subject to price control. And so a lot of times people feel that the government can go in and tell Rams or tell Value Mart, listen, that is too high, lower the price on that. What I encourage our people to do as much as possible is to shop around. All right? Because I found out the other day, I've been starting to go to the supermarket nowadays more often than I did before. And I found out the other day that some people shop at all the supermarkets in Nevis, like on a Saturday. They go by Rams for certain things because it's more affordable at Rams. They go by Value Mart for certain things, and then they go at Best Buy for certain things. And I didn't know that. I thought people just went and shopped. But people tell me no. They shop around because the same strawberries might be at Rams for $15, but it's at Best Buy for $13. Or it's at Value Mart for $20. So they shop around. So I encourage people to do that as well. And pay attention to their bills. When you get, you know, from the cashier, so you could compare and contrast. You can tell what is happening. And I just, as I said, I think our people just need to be more conscious of their expenditure and see what they can buy to make their dollar go a bit further. Because I don't see, Mr. Jarvis, the price is coming down. The United States just had an election, the great United States of America. And inflation was a big issue in that election. And I'm not convinced that the new president-elect can turn that around anytime soon. Because the factors that are leading to inflation are not just local factors. And if the great America is struggling about inflation and controlling it, you could imagine little countries like St. Kitts and Nevis. And I feel sometimes that as politicians, we just need to be honest and forthright with our people. The truth is that our people feel that government can solve all the problems. Price too high, what is the government doing? But if our food is coming in from Miami, what can we do? There's no VAT currently on food. And I met with the supermarket owners in Nevis. And I said, listen, the NIA is prepared to take off everything. No VAT is there, but we're prepared. Even the customs service charge, we take off everything. So whatever you get it in Miami, you just pay your shipping and you drive it off the port. We are not going to charge anything. And you know what they said to me? They think that was a nice gesture, but it would not change anything in relation to the cost of food in the supermarket. And when I inquired of them why, they said because every month that they go to Miami to buy, the prices in Miami gone up. So it's not us here that are driving up the price. It's the suppliers and where things are coming from and some of the global events that I have described. So it is very difficult to say to a small government in the Caribbean, oh, you must bring down the cost of food, for example, when our food is coming in from outside. And that is why I continue to recommend to our people that we grow some of what we eat and we eat some of what we grow, because I think that helps. It helps immensely in lowering the costs to feed ourselves and ensuring that we can get a nutritious meal at the lowest possible cost. Any other questions for me?
Hi, good morning everyone. My name is Bjorn and I'm a YouTube content creator. Mr. Premier, it took a man to come here all the way from France in Europe to let us know exactly what is happening inside of our own citizenship by investment program. Mr. Martinez of MSR Media said each citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis should be getting US $15,000 in dividend yearly. My question is, do you think it is the corruption within the Citizenship by Investment program why many people in St. Kitts and Nevis cannot get any benefits? Question number 2, Bermuda just several weeks ago opened a brand new airport that can host the same plane that you were talking about, the Emblem from Miami, at the cost of US $14 million. Nevis Airport expansion will cost over $40 million US. Question is, do you think it would be a better idea to choose a brand new location where there's a lot of land, like Indian Castle, and build a brand new airport? Question number 3. Do you think our education system matches what is happening on the ground in St. Kitts and Nevis? For example, every year, Nevis produce a lot of excellent debaters. Over the years, we would have had hundreds of debaters coming from Nevis. But when you look on the ground, we're not seeing any of these past debaters on radio debating anything. We're not seeing them on social media writing anything, debating anything. They are not here asking any questions. I never did debating in school, but here am I asking questions. What do you think is the reason for this? Why our education system is not matching what is happening on the ground? Nevis has, both St. Kitts and Nevis has a low population crisis. According to Google AI, in 2050, St. Kitts and Nevis population will be 44,000 people. And by 2100, it will drop to somewhere maybe around 39,000 people. The current population in St. Kitts and Nevis is 46,000 people. So that means we will lose people as the year go by. What is the plan to keep our people from moving abroad and have more children, and to help with the population, the low population crisis? Thank you.
Mr. Hanley, I was tempted to ask you how many children you had. I believe the answer is none.
You need the plan first,
You
man.
need a plan first. Oh, so you want the government you want the government to give you a plan and then you start to have them.
Yeah.
I understand. The truth is, the population, Mr. Anna, just to correct that, I think the recent census suggests that it's about 51,000, just under 52,000. Nevis has just over 13,500. Sinkis has just over 38,000. That is the first time, however, since 1960 that our population has gone to over 50,000. And during the period from 1960 until now, which is some 64 years, our population has dropped to as low as, I think, 36,000 during that time. So you're right, we have had a population problem. And I have spoken about it because I don't think we can achieve a sustainable island state without people. And I went recently to Bermuda. That is part of the reason I went to Bermuda, to talk to our people there, bearing in mind that 50% of Bermudans trace their roots to St. Kitts and Nevis. Try and encourage them to come home, to invest, to get involved in the life and times here. The answer, Mr. Hanley, to our population crisis, and I like the language you use because I agree with you, is a low population crisis, is really for our own people to have more children. When the folks for the census came to speak to me, there were two young women who were part of the group. And I asked both young women, I said, if the government were to provide incentives, tax breaks, support, whatever, would you have more children? And both said, no matter what the government did, they would not have any more children. As societies around the world have become more affluent, people have less children. When here in Nevis people were poor, we had 14 and 15 children. Soon as people started to make a little money and start to enjoy some of the nicer things in life, they say, I'm not having any more than one or two because I want to give them a good quality of life. And that is the reality the world over. It's not unique to Nevis. So, to grow population, you need your local people to have more children. The population crisis is not just here. So, Hanny, when you look globally, places like Japan already predicting problems because their populations are aging. And just like here, those societies, which I suppose have become more affluent, they're not having children. Women are opting not to have children. So the reality is that we would have to encourage somehow our people here to have children. We will have to consider our community abroad, which is multiples of our community here in terms of our population. When I say our community, not just those born here, but the children of those who are born here, to encourage those. And we'll have to consider some elements of immigration. That's what Singapore and the United Arab Emirates and those have done. They have fueled their growth. If you go to the UAE, I think the UAE has, I want to feel a few million people. But they only have about, they have less than a million. I think the number I saw was about 400,000 Emiratis. So the local population is far, far exceeded by the immigrants who are there working. Right? You can check the numbers. I'm not sure my numbers are correct, but I'm telling you that the disparity is significant. Right? And Singapore, same thing. They are reaching out and saying they want individuals to come. You have heard even other countries like Canada and the United Kingdom saying that they're going to go through a problem after a while. They need people. So I think we're not alone in this regard, but we need people. I compare to Bermuda all the time. Bermuda is far advanced. In fact, Bermuda is, I think, the most advanced island in the Caribbean. But I compare them because they only have 21 square miles. That means they're smaller than Nevis. Nevis is 1.5 times bigger than Bermuda. Bermuda is 1/5 the size of St. Kitts and Nevis. But Bermuda has 65,000 people. So they have a critical pool of people for taxes, for events, you name it, consumption. And that's something that we lack. So imagine Bermuda, 1/5 the size of St. Kitts and Nevis, has more people than St. Kitts and Nevis combined. So we need to do something. I like the language. I'm going to try to incorporate it into my own lexicon, low population crisis. But Mr. Hanley, you need to do your part as well. So I'm hopeful that you will step up and assist in that regard. Mr. Jarvis, you have children?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Mr. Jarvis is doing his part, and I know for sure I won't say anything about Mr. Harvey, but you know, all of us have to do our part in trying to get the population up, you know. So we need to do that. I fortunately am at an age where there's no part left for me to play, but I think that others, like you said, Mr. Hanley, can play your part. Mr. Hanley, you struck a chord with me when you talk about the education system, whether it matches what's happening on the ground. And I agree with you 100%. And I cannot understand, because it is obviously not for want of ability. You're right. We have some of the best debaters. In fact, there was a debate recently at the Jessup's Community Center. I regret very much I couldn't attend, but my younger daughter attended. I think she was a judge. And she came home and she was, wow, these debaters are excellent. She was a debater in her time, and she tells me that these youngsters are phenomenal. But you're absolutely correct. You don't hear them calling in on the radio stations to express a view. You don't hear them getting involved in the island that is theirs. And so you ask the question, really, why? I don't know. I really can't answer that question, because they get up and they debate in public, they're given a topic, and they do an excellent job. But in relation to the issues that are impacting us, where our young people can bring a perspective that we may not have, they have been largely silent. So I feel that we need to find ways and forums to encourage our young people to say, hey, your voice is an important voice, but you have to sound it. You have to let people know. You're right. There are questions I have for the Premier. Premier, what are you going to do about the economy? When I leave school in 2 years, what job I could look forward to? These are things that young people should be interested in. So I agree with you. We are falling down somehow. Part of it might be cultural. Let's not rule out that. Part of it might be cultural. You know, Mr. Hanley, whenever you stand up and you come to this microphone, you immediately expose yourself to those out there who are looking on, to criticize and to bash and to do all of that. So a lot of people don't come to the microphone because they don't want any attention on them. I remember, I've told this story before, that I met a Jamaican fellow who said to me that in his experience with Nevisians, they were some of the most interesting people. And I asked him why. And he said when he was at Mona campus as a student, the brightest student in the class was a Nevisian. He said he was head and shoulders above all of us. So in fact, when the professor spoke and they did not understand, when the lecture was over, they will go to this Nevisian, who will remain nameless, friend of mine, and they will ask him, could he explain what the professor meant? And he said, this Nevisian, their classmate, used to school them, give them tutorials to help them. And he said, you know, in all the tutorials we had with the professor, that Nevisian never once made a comment or answered a question. He says, sometimes when I'm answering the question, the answer that I'm giving, I get it from the Nevisian, you know. Last night he told me that. But he's never once raised his hand in that session. Mr. Hanley, if you don't believe me, go to the next town hall meeting or public gathering. And you will notice that every Nevisian that comes in tries to sit down at the back. In fact, I have seen people come up to the front, take up a chair, and carry it down to the back to sit down. We have a culture where we don't want nobody to see us. If you come up front and you sit down, oh, watch you show yourself. So a lot of our young people may shy away because they feel, well, if I go up and I ask a question, people may say, I'm trying to be this, I'm trying to be that. We need to encourage our people. I don't believe in that foolishness at all. I say, step up. That kind of complex is something which, in my respectful view, has kept us back. Step up. How could a Jamaican be telling me that the Nevisian was the brightest in the class, but never sound his voice once in a tutorial? Why? Sit down there. If I'm the professor, I would think, oh, this fella here, man, fella ain't got nothing to say. This fella doesn't know what's going on. But his fellow students go to him, back on the dorm, say, please help us. And he's helping them. We need to get out of that in Nevis. I don't know what causes it. But in Nevis, we all know it, that the person who breaks out of that mold, you know the first thing they say, what he boasting. So culture may have something to do with it. It may not just be the education system, but our culture, where we are told, take it easy, be quiet, don't have nothing to say. And so you find the space is taken up by a few loud people. They've got all the talking to do. Some of them have got no sense. But they're doing all the talking because a lot of our people who I think are sensible and rational refuse to, or let me put it differently, choose not to engage. So that might be an explanation. It will be for members of the public to determine. Bermuda opened a new airport, you're right. You say it cost $14 million. I'm not sure about the cost, but I accept that you're at your word. And whether it's a better idea for us to choose a new location. We looked at all the options. But one of the, and the cabinet debated this back and forth. But one of the issues that we looked at, Mr. Hanley, we said, the brand new airport, we were looking at that possibility. One, where were we going to put it? That was an issue. Because you mentioned Indian Castle, but there was some wind and other considerations in some parts of Nevis. We had looked even at that location and the possibility of taking off some of Hurricane Hill, which would really solve the problem. If that hill wasn't there, then you have now your full runway, access to the full runway for landing. We will have access to the full runway, as I've explained, for takeoff, but for the landing. But the costs were really mounting up to over $100 million to do that project. And when we looked at it, we said, you know what? You have an international airport in St. Kitts, 5 minutes away. You have one in Antigua, 20 minutes away. You have one in St. Martin, 25 minutes away. Does it make sense to invest in another international airport for Nevis? So you'll have one in St. Kitts, one in Nevis. British Airways landing in Nevis, British Airways landing in St. Kitts, American Airlines, you know, the big planes. And we thought that it might be better for us to do something that catered to a different segment of the market, which is a private jet traffic. And that was and became the guiding principle. We had a lot of debate about that in the cabinet, but that is what we opted to do. In terms of the cost, I've heard some people suggesting that our airport is costing too much compared to Bermuda. I think it's apples and oranges. Because one, we have had to do here some extensive land acquisition. The cost on the land acquisition is probably going to be over 10 million US dollars. Right? That has nothing to do with the airport construction. That's just to acquire the lands to allow us to do what we're going to do. Two, we have an existing runway there that we need to do work on. Meaning we need to shore up, we need to reinforce, etc. That's a wholly different proposition than if you were just building a new runway on virgin land. I've not been to Bermuda, but a little I've heard about Bermuda. Bermuda is as flat as this floor that you have here. So if you're going to build in Bermuda, it's just to put in your heavy equipment and cut. You don't have to deal with any hills, you don't have to deal with any swamps, you don't have to deal with any of that. It's just land that you just process. So I think it's not a fair comparison, it's not an accurate comparison, because I think in Bermuda, you know, you can't separate out, for example, what was the cost of the land on which the airport sits. If you're just talking construction, airport construction, then I think our airport construction itself here, meaning the strip and all that, I think the total for the airstrip, but that includes the new fire, the tower, the expansion of the terminal, I think it comes in about $37 million, or the consultants are saying. So that's all in. The extra 10 million is to pay the lands, for the lands around. So if we didn't have to pay for the lands, then we would have a significantly lower target in terms of the cost. You said it took Martinez of MSR to let us know. And is corruption one of the reasons we're not getting more? I am still waiting, frankly, Mr. Hanley, on the details. What I say that is we've heard a lot of allegations. You've had a lot of toing and froing and things being said. But in terms of the details, saying, well, all right, this amount of money, this is where it is. Even in Nevis, when we had this debate about fair share, I had to put a team together that had to comb through budget documents and various documents to really determine. Nobody, no prime minister has ever come to the people. And I have to say prime minister because, as I said, Nevis has no control over that program. But no prime minister has ever come to the people and said, listen, X number of passports were processed, X amount of money was made, this is what we paid out to agents and whoever, this is what the country retained. We've never had that accounting. So you're hearing now people like Martinez who are saying, oh, this information is out there and based on our calculation, people should be getting $15,000 US and all of that. Whether that is factual or not, or whether that is just somebody extrapolating and building a model and saying based on that, this is the position, I can't really say. So I myself am waiting, and I will tell you, I was in a government for 7 years, and we got no information on the Citizenship by Investment program. Every time you ask in cabinet what the position was, the prime minister then gave an excuse. Oh, he have to bring the people from finance to explain. He gonna bring the people from CIO. And then the following week came by and somebody traveled and you'd never got the information. His predecessor, Dr. Douglas, I remember one time in what I could only consider a farcical session in Parliament, where I believe it was Eugene Hamilton, who was on the opposition benches then, asked about the number of passports that had been issued or something. And I think the response was not a lot or something like that. I have searched the world. I can't find a number which is not a lot. Numbers that tend to be, 1, 2, 3, 4. But the response was not a lot or not many or something like that. And it's been the response. Right? I sat in a cabinet session one time, and the question was how many applications, how much money had come in for the Hurricane Relief Fund. And no answer was forthcoming. None. Right? We got things like it's doing well. So our people really don't have hard data. And I don't know what the problem is. Publish the data. I felt at one point the problem was Nevis, I know for sure in the cabinet that was led by Timothy Harris, he didn't want to say, because I kept agitating that Nevis needed a fair share. So he didn't want to say. Because when in those years that he earned $700 million, when Nevis getting 30, he didn't want to say. So I think that was part of the problem. But we need a proper accounting, and we need the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance to come out and say these are the numbers. Because he's the Minister of Finance, he's also the Prime Minister, and he's also the Minister of National Security. So all the ministries that would be relevant to that fall under the one office. So that information, I think, should be made public so that individuals like yourself and me, we don't have to question, we know what the data is. And when we have the accurate information, it would mean then that others who might be bent on misrepresentation aren't allowed to get away with it because we have accurate information. Any other questions for me?
LK Hewlett, Department of Information. These questions are from Glenn Batt of SKN Newsline. He sends his regrets for not being able to attend today. Concerning billing of water consumers on Nevis, are you aware that there are several instances where customers are being billed for 10 times the amount of water that is actually consumed and metered? For example, if the bill in January showed water consumption of 300 gallons and that of February is 500 gallons, the difference is 200 gallons. However, the consumption on the bill will indicate that the consumer consumed 2,000 gallons. It is my understanding that the issue has been brought to the attention in writing of the Water Department, the Minister in charge, and to you as Premier. So therefore, what action has been taken to date to resolve this situation? Why has there been no formal communication with consumers regarding this matter? And what are the implications for the NIA's upcoming budget if this matter is given the prompt attention it deserves? Second question, luckily that one only has one part. As you know, the MSR matter is an issue on St. Kitts. Can you address a matter relative to the people who are asking if any background checks were done on Mr. Martinez prior to his arrival on Nevis to do the series of movies? While I'm on my feet, I will also ask on behalf of WinFM a few questions. Are you ready? Okay. As you prepare for the upcoming 2025 budget presentation, what are the key priorities you foresee, especially in response to the economic challenges highlighted during the 2024 consultations? With increasing geopolitical tensions and their impact on the Caribbean, how is your government positioning Nevis regarding regional cooperation on security and economic challenges? Could you elaborate on how Nevis is collaborating with other Caribbean nations to address shared challenges such as climate change, economic stability, and security? Given Donald Trump's return to the U.S. presidency, which will happen in January, what concerns do Nevis have regarding the implications for U.S. commitments to climate justice and financial assistance for vulnerable regions like the Caribbean? And the final question, is Mr. Drahe still an investor in the Vance Amory International Airport expansion project? And is there any binding agreement if he is? And those last few questions were from WinFM. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I'll try to be as brief as I can. Mr. Bart asks about customers being billed for 10 times in Nevis, and he's right. It is a matter for the public, but you see, sometimes individuals come to the government and claim that they're coming to have issues resolved. But they also take it to the media before those issues can be resolved. And so he's right that I received a letter from a customer complaining and claiming that he had done his own investigation and he had arrived at these conclusions. My information from the Water Department is that they are doing their own investigation to determine whether or not that customer's conclusions are correct. Beyond that, I cannot say. I have spoken to the minister about it, and that was the last report I had from the minister, that that customer has raised this issue and that they are doing their own investigation to provide a comprehensive response on the matter. So if it is that the individual has opted to take it to the media, Mr. Bart, I can't answer any further than that we are looking into the matter, and I'm not sure as I stand here whether or not that customer has been responded to as yet, because the last report I had was that we were investigating the matter from our point of view to determine whether or not what he was saying had any merit at all.
So the complaint is just from one customer?
As far as I know. There's a gentleman who wrote a very lengthy letter and copied me on it, which I saw. And I did speak to him in passing and indicated that just what I've just said, that we are investigating the matter. So the fact that Mr. Bart can say that I was told, I assume it was the same gentleman who decided that he would go to the press as well, and that's a matter for him, but that will not do anything other than allow us to do exactly what we say, which is to investigate the matter with a view to providing some answers in the course of time. MSR and whether we did any background checks. Mr. Bart, this is, and I don't mean to be disrespectful in any way, but this I think is what I would call a red herring. I did not hire MSR to be my banker. I did not bring MSR in to do anything other than what I've said, to make some movies. So the background checks that I would have been interested in on MSR is what is their experience and qualifications to do movies. And Mr. Martinez has been associated, prior to him coming here, with over 50 film projects. I know that after Mr. Martinez got into his kerfuffle in St. Kitts, that those who wanted, I suppose, to attack him said that he had been convicted of some crime. He has indicated that that happened when he was 20 years old, and that he has since, of course, changed his life, turned his life around. He's now making movies and has been doing that for the rest of his days. Mr. Martinez now, I think, is a man of 56 or 57, something like that. So when people, again in an effort to shift blame, because his narrative, first time I heard it, came from the former Prime Minister, Dr. Harris. And he said that I brought a bad man here and we didn't do any due diligence on the man and all of that. But if I bring a bad woman here and I didn't do any due diligence on her, is my woman and have nothing to do with you? You jump in, you take him from me, and then you start with him. Well, when you took him over, you should have done your due diligence. That's what should have happened. You didn't do that. In fact, you tried to do it in a clandestine way. Go behind my back. When I grew up in Brantley, they used to say, your back raised. So your back raised me. Go behind my back. Well, when you were doing all that, why didn't you do your due diligence and determine whether or not you wanted to do business? I was doing business with Mr. Martinez to make movies for which he's eminently qualified and which he delivered on, because we did 9 movies here on the island of Nevis. Well, 8 on Nevis, and I think the 9th was done mostly on St. Kitts. That's what I hired him to do. If I'm hiring a mason to build a wall for me, I want to know whether the mason can build walls. I am not hiring the mason to manage my money. So when people come with this type of, oh, what due diligence did you do? The fact that there was some adverse finding on somebody when they were 20 years old, and that over the years since then, that person has become a significant movie producer. And you can just Google the gentleman if you don't want to accept what I'm saying. But you will realize that his filmography, I think they call it, is over 50 different films. He has even acted in some films. It goes back a long way. Films there from 2000, 2002, etc. So when he approached wanting to make films, the background check that we did showed that he had vast experience in producing films. Now, if he had approached and said, I want to open an international bank, then you would do a check of a different kind. So I want to just say, Mr. Bart, that with respect, this whole thing about background check is a red herring, because MSR would have been approved under the CBI program, not by me, not by Nevis. So the question about background checks should more appropriately be extended to the federal government, because they were who approved him, and more specifically to Dr. Harris at the time, because he was who approved him. So I don't think that that is a matter, really, which rises to any consideration, because I hire a man to put up a wall for me, and the man put up the wall. That's what I hired him to do. I hired a man to come and cut my yard, and the man come and cut the yard. That's what I hired him to do. If you hire him or contract with him to do other things, then you ought to have done your due diligence to be satisfied that those other things were appropriate and that he could deliver on those things. That's not an issue for me. So I want to put that matter to rest. The key priorities for the budget, I think I would have set out, Ms. Hewlett, some of those, but I will tell you that I'm all about jobs, 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 jobs next year. I want to grow the economy, create more jobs. That is what we're doing, and that is why we intend to put some things in place for returning nationals, to revamp our current system and policies, encourage our members of the diaspora to come home and invest, build, buy a piece of land, come back to look after their old family land. A lot of abandoned houses around the place belong to them. Come claim them, fix them, put them on Airbnb, get them occupied and busy. People here, even some of the persons who have come in from other countries and they're clamoring for places to rent. They want places to stay. And we have all these abandoned buildings around, abandoned homes around. These are things that need to be looked at. So we'll be putting those in place, and we'll be putting in some package for small businesses as well. So we'll be dealing on that. They said, how am I positioning Nevis in relation to international issues? How are we collaborating with other countries? I think that this person at Wynn probably is seeing Nevis as a separate country. We're not. We are part of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And so in relation to our engagement with other countries, we are limited in what we can do as a Nevis island administration or as the island of Nevis. So really the question ought to be how we are positioning St. Kitts and Nevis and how we're engaging with regional partners in relation to that. And I can say where Nevis is called upon and where we've been allowed to play a role, we have in fact engaged with various agencies, as we have done with the U.S. government. I mentioned the student program, scholarship program for students. We're engaging. Just last night, there was an important conversation with Exim Bank about geothermal. I regret that I was unable to be on the call because I was on the mark, but there was an important call that happened. It was rescheduled, and that was part of the problem because it had been it was supposed to happen at 2 different times yesterday, and it didn't happen at those times. And when it eventually happened, I think around 9:30, I was on the air. But nevertheless, when Nevis is invited to the table, we have participated and made our contribution. Am I concerned about Trump and his presidency? No, I'm not. I feel that too much emphasis is being placed on who sits in the White House and too little on American policy and the general approach that America takes, because I'm not convinced that the president necessarily is the individual who drives that particular train. I think that we have not seen any substantial change in American policy in a very long time, despite different people sitting in the White House. I feel that in relation to Donald Trump, we will see what happens. If he governs the way Republicans tend to govern, I believe we will see more business, we'll see more investment flowing as a result. We'll see less regulation. I am concerned, however, on the issue of climate, because we do know that President Trump was the one who pulled America out of the COP and the Paris Agreement. So I'm hopeful that we don't go down that road again, because I think that set back the whole campaign, certainly of which the Caribbean has been in the forefront for climate justice. And so that I'm concerned about, and I'm hopeful that in his 4 years, he will be a lame duck president because he can't run again. So in his 4 years, that there will not be the need for him to go down that road and to make those drastic changes. I think that there will be enough on President Trump's plate at the national level: immigration, cost of living, as you've just said, jobs, job creation, the economy, that there may be no need for him to go down that road, but we'll have to wait and see. I have adopted a wait-and-see approach so far as the United States is concerned, but so far we have not seen any drop-off in terms of business for us or in terms of people who seem not to be traveling or not to be investing because of anxiety there. Is Mr. Drahi still an investor in the airport? The short answer is yes. We're still engaging with Mr. Drahi, and the details of that we will try to set out in due course once those details are finalized. But yes, Mr. Drahi has confirmed to us as recently as yesterday that yesterday through his representative, that he's still 100% on board in terms of partnering with us to deliver the airport project. Are there any other questions for me?
Mr. Brown from Van Reden. Mr. Premier, just one last question. As it relates to the hospital, I know in times past there would have been shortages of nurses in, over the years. Just want to know, is it that the government will look to bring in some, nurses or midwives perhaps from the Philippines or somewhere, some other place or places? Yeah. Thanks.
So I keep saying Mr. Jarvis. It's actually Mr. Brown. Yes. Jarvis, forgive me, Mr. Brown. Please forgive me. All right. So Mr. Brown, the short answer is yes. We still have an acute shortage of nurses, and we still continue to try and recruit nurses from outside. I believe just yesterday, I would have approved the recommendation from the Ministry of Health to employ some nurses from India. I think one or two who we found from India. So we're getting them from the Philippines, we're getting them from India, we're getting them from St. Vincent and elsewhere in the Caribbean, Jamaica. We have a nursing crisis, not just here, but in the region. And we definitely need more of our people to undertake that noble profession. We provide full assistance to students who want to go to CFBC to do nursing. And so we encourage those who are leaving sixth form and leaving fifth form to really take up the opportunity. It's a degree program now, so you actually have to go through a degree program. So when you're done, you have a degree in nursing. And the old system of a sort of apprenticeship, where you came and after a while you got some qualification, that has been abandoned. So you now have to go to school, you have to get your degree. And we encourage people because the government is fully supportive of those who are studying. Prime Minister Drew has indicated that St. Kitts Nevis nationals, as you now know, don't pay tuition. But even in terms of the boat fee and all of that, we also contribute from Nevis to ensure that our students can get access to that kind of education. So I encourage those because we do still have an acute shortage. Let me put it this way, if you're a qualified nurse right now, you come to Nevis, you're guaranteed employment. There's no ifs, ands, buts, or maybes. You're guaranteed employment. We have noticed with our Filipino nurses, they're excellent, great service, great bedside manners, but a lot of times we find that our ability to retain them is limited because after they would have done a year or two, they then move on. Many of them are moving on to the US and moving on to other places because there's an acute shortage worldwide, really, when it comes to nurses. So we continue to have that difficulty, Mr. Brown, but we are hopeful that if our own people step up, we'll be able to solve that problem of a shortage in nurses. Anything further for me? Okay, thank you all very much, members of the press. Thank you to NTV. Stuart, thank you very much for being here with us all year. And thank you, Mr. Daniel, for being with me all year as well. I think you only missed one press conference when a young lady filled in for you. And she did an excellent job as well. So I want to thank Shona. Thanks to Von Radio and to all the media houses. Mr. Hanley, it's good to have you home. I know you spent some time in Africa. Thanks to all of you who have continued to be here with me every month as we try to share information, have our discussions. And my hope is that this exercise in open government will become the standard for future administrations in the island of Nevis. So thank you, and let me take the opportunity, since I won't see you here in this forum again, to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year when it comes. Thank you very much.